Chapter 660. Charlotte put the secret documents of the FA organization and the big envelope with the photos on the coffee table. Sherborne picked up the envelope, while Tang Tianlong, Wu Kuei, and Zhong Jing each picked up a document. Charlotte observed the expressions of the three people. At this time, he was more nervous than anyone else. Whether his father Xia Changhe could return, live a normal life, and enjoy his old age, success or failure depended on this. He couldn't be careless. Sherborne, Tang Tianlong, and Wu Kuei exchanged the documents brought by Charlotte, and the three didn't say a word during the whole process. Their expressions were serious, and the office became dull and depressing because of them. After reading the last document, Sherborne looked at Charlotte and said, his eyes full of worry, "You already knew, didn't you?" Tang Tianlong just looked at Charlotte, expressionless and silent, as if he had a lot on his mind. Wu Kuei also looked at Charlotte with a cold expression and stern eyes. There was also a hint of anger in his eyes. Based on the reaction of the three people after reading the documents and photos, Charlotte's mind was already clear. Among the three people in front of him, if there was one who was willing to speak for him and help him, it would only be Sherborne. However, Sherborne obviously couldn't make the decision on this matter. "Yes, I already knew." After a moment of silence, Charlotte admitted. "Then why didn't you tell me earlier?" Sherborne questioned. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "How could I tell you? He is my father, the father who gave birth to me and raised me. I am the consultant of 101 innings. From this standpoint, I should arrest him. I am his son, and from this standpoint, I should protect him. I chose the latter, because if I betray my own father, am I, Charlotte, still human?" Sherborne sighed and didn't speak. He seemed to be able to understand Charlotte's way of handling things. At this moment, Wu Kuei suddenly smashed a document in his hand on the coffee table and said angrily, "Charlotte, how dare you?" Charlotte was startled by him, but he quickly calmed down and said lightly, "I'm indeed very courageous. Old Mr. Zongjing, I only have one condition. I want a pardon to ensure that my father is fine." "You still dare to speak?" Wu Kuei's anger intensified. "A country has its laws. Since ancient times, when a prince breaks the law, the commoners are punished the same way. You have made a lot of contributions to the country, and you are indeed a rare talent. But how can you use your achievements and talent to ask your father from the national team to show mercy outside the law? Don't you know that your father committed treason? Not to mention, he killed a lot of people." Charlotte said, "I know what he did. I won't defend him. I just want him to be fine." "Stubborn. Stubborn." Wu Kuei slammed the coffee table. "By doing this, what position do you have in the law? Since ancient times, there has been no lack of people who put righteousness before family. Don't you have a role model?" Charlotte's eyes turned cold, and his heart was burning with anger. However, he wasn't blinded by anger. He knew very well in his heart. He knew that Wu Kuei wasn't someone who didn't understand the importance of benefits, nor was he someone who didn't care about the big picture. From the perspective of the country, it was obviously more beneficial to fulfill his small request. Arresting his father, Xia Changhe, and punishing his father for his crimes was considered the dignity of the law. However, without the submarine technology, he could even change Rema Group to manufacturing slippers and socks, and get Lei Ma Army to manufacture bicycles. However, Wu Kuei clearly knew the consequences of this matter. Why was he still so stubborn and unwilling to let his father, Xia Changhe, go? Sherborne cleared his throat. "Old Mr. Zongjing, I think this matter." Wu Kuei glanced at Sherborne, his eyes cold and sinister. Sherborne suddenly stopped talking. "Charlotte, you can ask for fame, you can ask for money." Wu Kuei's tone was cold. "I can't do anything about your father, but I can guarantee that he won't die. Where is he now? Are you going to arrest him?" Charlotte suppressed the anger in his heart. Wu Kuei said, "There are some things I need to ask him." Charlotte's heart suddenly moved, and he secretly said, "This Wu Kuei is most likely the director of the ZN Bureau. Then his target is me, the secret of ancient alloy and AE. Compared to the secret of ancient alloy and AE, Germany's submarine technology is obviously not enough. What he wants is greater benefits. He wants my father, and he obviously wants to use my father as a breakthrough point. You can also ask for a position." Wu Kuei added, "I can guarantee you that within the entire country, you can choose any provincial or city-level job you want. With your talent and the political capital you have now, your future is limitless." Charlotte was silent. Wu Kuei continued to persuade, "Your father's matter is not your fault. Don't ordinary families also have parents who report crimes to the police and arrest their sons? Aren't there also children who report parents who break the law? The law is the law. If everyone disregards the law, then wouldn't the world be in chaos?" Tang Tianlong's lips moved. "Charlotte, think about it." Charlotte suddenly laughed. "So it's not possible?" Wu Kuei's face turned cold. "I have said so much, and you still don't understand what I mean?" Motherf ****. Xia Lei suddenly cursed. "What did you say?" Wu Kuei stood up. A commoner dared to look down on him. Charlotte suddenly slammed the coffee table, and stood up as well. He glared at Wu Kuei and said angrily, "I said, fuck you." Wu Kuei pointed at Charlotte's nose and was so angry that he couldn't say a word. Tang Tianlong and Sherboran were shocked by Charlotte's actions. Charlotte sneered. "I risked my life for the country. I risked my life and went to Germany to learn technology. I risked my life to carry out missions in Afghanistan, Japan, Korea, and Jerusalem. When I was licking my wounds in a rain of bullets, what were you doing? Drinking tea or reading the newspaper? Or practicing Tai Chi in the park? You want to use my technology to exchange for Germany's technology, and you expect me to betray my father? Fuck, are you still human? How can you be like this?" Wu Kuei's face turned red and green. "Oh right, who are you?" Charlotte looked into Wu Kuei's eyes. "What's your identity?" "I am." Wu Kuei was trembling with anger, but he didn't say it. "You won't tell me?" "All right, then tell me, are you in charge of this matter?" "So what if I am?" "So what if I'm not?" Wu Kuei's eyes were terrifyingly cold. Charlotte sneered. "It's simple. If you're not in charge, why would I waste my time talking to you? If you're in charge, then it's easy. The negotiations will collapse." "Collapse? What do you want?" "I won't sell my technology to anyone. Rema Group won't produce any more weapons. I will switch to producing socks and shirts." Charlotte said. "Charlotte, don't forget, you still owe the bank more than 20 billion. You will switch to producing socks and shirts? How are you going to repay the loan?" Wu Kuei said coldly. Xia Lei shrugged and said with a smile, "A loan of more than 20 billion? It's just RMB. I only need to build a factory in UAE or another country to produce socks, and they will help me repay the loan. Or, I only need to build a Lei Long AI machine tool, and there will be people willing to repay the loan. To me, money is not a problem at all. As long as I want money, there will be people in this world who can't wait to give it to me." This was the truth. With his ability, as long as he moved the socks production factory overseas, there would be no country that wouldn't be willing to provide him funds. This wasn't even the simplest part. If he was willing to sell his Lei Long AI machine tool, there would be financial groups willing to help him repay the loan in exchange for the world's most advanced AI machine tool. In other words, he was a human-shaped treasure. His brain and his hands were immeasurable wealth. He could destroy everything he had built at any time and rise up in a different place. What could you use to threaten such a person? "NN," Sherboran coughed. "Charlotte, speak properly. Don't be so rash." Tang Tianlong then said, "That's right, Xia Lei, the sect master is getting on in years, you have to watch your words. We'd better sit down and talk about it. We've got to get somewhere, haven't we?" Wu Kuei and Zongjing sat down, but Xiaolei was still standing upright. Continue, Charlotte said. Sure, but I want to ask, which one of you is in charge? Sherborne and Tang Tianlong's gazes shifted to Wu Kuei at the same time. Wu Kuei didn't say anything. Charlotte laughed. No one is in charge. What's there to talk about if you're not in charge? I still have things to do. You guys take your time. Don't look for me in the future. We don't have a date. I don't believe that we can't find a place in this world that can accommodate us, father and son. Kid, you. Sherborne was anxious. Charlotte couldn't be bothered to say anything more. He kept the documents and envelopes on the table, put them into his briefcase, and turned to leave. It's me. Wu Kuei finally admitted. You really can't change this request? Charlotte said. This is my only request and I won't change it. I want a pardon order signed by the highest leader. My father won't be prosecuted, and he won't be investigated by anyone. You guys can't send anyone to spy on him. Give me what I want and I'll give you what you want. Can't I sign it? No, I don't believe you. Okay, deal. Someone will send the pardon order to you tomorrow. You're on your own. Although Wu Kuei agreed, his tone was cold. Charlotte said indifferently, I have a clear conscience when I do things. I have to face the country and people, and I have to face my conscience. A person like me, God will protect me. So, you don't need to remind me. Well said. Goodbye, Mr. Xia. Wu Kuei got up and walked out of Sherborne's office. After Wu Kuei left, Sherborne said, Kid, were you born in the year of the ox in your previous life? How can you be angry at him? Charlotte said, Who is this old man? He's so old, yet he still hasn't retired? Sherborne was speechless. Tang Tianlong sighed. Charlotte, although it's a deal, you've also offended him. Later on, find a chance to apologize. Okay. Although he agreed, Charlotte would never apologize to Wu Kuei. Then I'll go first. I still have to report. Tang Tianlong also left. Only Sherborne and Charlotte were left in the office. After hesitating for a moment, Sherborne still came to Charlotte's side. Wu Kuei is the director of the Zien Bureau. All the things against you came from there. Now that you've offended Wu Kuei, you have to be careful. Charlotte showed a smile. Thank you, Boss Sher. Although he had already guessed Wu Kuei's identity, such words coming from Sherborne's mouth had a different meaning for him. Chapter 661. The negotiation was successful and he got what he wanted. Charlotte should be happy, but his heart was heavy. He used all the capital in his hands to force Wu Kuei to lower his high and mighty head. If the success of this negotiation was compared to a victory, it was a Pyrrhic victory. The way Wu Kuei looked at him when he left made him feel a chill. That look seemed to be a signal that he had become an enemy. If the previous actions of the Zien Bureau against him were all fortifications, and Wu Kuei was also doing business, then the following actions of the Zien Bureau were probably mixed with personal grudges. Walking out of the 101 floors office building, the sun shone down on his face, making him feel warm. Who cares, as long as I don't do anything illegal, I'm upright. No matter how powerful he is, what can he do to me? With my value, with the value of the Thunder Horse military factory, he can't openly deal with me. As long as I help Fanfan take the position of the Zien Bureau director, I can solve the Zien Bureau's problems. If he goes down from his current position, he's nothing to me. Thinking of this, Charlotte sneered. After getting in the car, he took out his phone and dialed a number. A few seconds later, the call was connected. It's strange, you actually took the initiative to call me. What's the matter? This was Fanfan's voice. Where are you? My grandpa is here. What's the matter? Let's talk. Is it convenient for me to come over now? It won't be convenient for me in a few days. It's convenient for you to come over now. Charlotte, a red BMW M6 suddenly drove into the parking lot and stopped next to Charlotte's Chevrolet Suburban off-road van. Charlotte recognized this car. It was the first car he bought for Liang Xiao. The two rolled down the windows almost at the same time. "When did you find it?" Charlotte asked casually. The car reminded him of the past. Liang Xiao grinned. "It's in my hometown. I asked someone to drive it to a 4S shop for maintenance and then drove it back to me. It's very important to me. My boyfriend gave it to me. Do you think it's beautiful?" Charlotte also smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in his heart. Liang Xiao suddenly leaned in front of the car window and lowered her voice. "According to the intelligence from Europe, Gu Qian flew from Japan to Korea at 8 o'clock last night, along with the elite CIB field agents. The field agents of the CIB were not intelligence agents, but agents who carried out arrests and assassinations. Gu Qian flew from Japan to Korea with the CIB's elite field agent. It was obvious that he was about to take action." Charlotte raised his head to look at the sky. The sky was clear, but he felt as if dark clouds were looming over him, as if a storm was brewing. "You have to be careful. Her target is you." Liang Xiao's eyes were full of worry. Charlotte nodded. "I know. I have to report this to Boss Sure. Let's talk about it later." Liang Xiao turned around and left. "Wait! Is there anything else?" Liang Xiao turned back to look at Charlotte with a smile on her lip. "It was beautiful." "Well, thank you," Charlotte said. Liang Xiao smiled. "You know that's not what I want. No matter what I do for you, you don't have to thank me." Charlotte smiled. "Let's go. I have to go too." Charlotte drove away. Liang Xiao watched the Chevrolet Suburban leave. Charlotte looked at her in the rearview mirror. The distance was getting longer and longer, but there were some things it just couldn't cut. An hour later, Charlotte's Chevrolet Suburban appeared in the parking lot of the Academy of Science. He got out of the car with a big bag of gifts in his hand. If it wasn't for these gifts, he would have arrived at the Academy of Science earlier. Some of these gifts were for Fanfan and some were for Fan Yiming. He rarely tried to please someone. Now he had to make a change. In front of the building's lobby, Fanfan leaned against a marble pillar. She smiled at Charlotte, who was walking towards her. She teased, "Why are you still buying gifts? Don't tell me you haven't woken up yet and your brain is still muddled?" "Buying gifts for you means you haven't woken up yet and your brain is muddled? Since you said so, I won't send you off. Wait for me. I'll put the things in the car first." Charlotte turned around to leave. However, Fanfan took a step forward and snatched the bag of gifts from Charlotte's hands. She scolded, "How can there be people like you who buy gifts and then take them back? You are a billionaire. How can you be so stingy? You must be the most stingy billionaire in the world." Charlotte shrugged. "You have said everything, so I won't say any more." Fanfan looked at the gifts and smiled. "There are also tea leaves and purple clay cup. Are these for my grandfather?" "Yes. I didn't know your taste for tea, so I bought some of each," Charlotte said. Fanfan glanced at Charlotte. "You want to please him. What is your purpose?" Charlotte smiled. "Isn't it obvious? I want to hook up with his granddaughter." Then he moved closer to Fanfan's snow-white earlobe. He breathed out hot air and said, "Do you want me to hook up with her?" The teasing words, the evil smile, and the hot air that blew into her ear. All these factors mixed together and happened in an instant. Fanfan's body suddenly trembled and a moan came from her throat. Charlotte was surprised. "You can't be," Fanfan bit her lips and stared at Charlotte with a red face. She didn't say a word. It wasn't that she didn't want to say it. It was just that she couldn't bring herself to say such embarrassing things. "Well, let's go see Elder Fan. Then we can find a place to have a good chat," Charlotte said. The evil smile on his face became even more obvious. "What do you want to talk about?" "Whatever you want to talk about." Charlotte winked at Fanfan. You've become bad. Don't women like bad boys?" "If I were a well-behaved and honest farmer, would you like me? Would you want to give birth to my children?" "I don't want to," Fanfan said. She was sure that if Charlotte really was a farmer, even if he was as good-looking as he was now, she wouldn't even look at him. Not to mention going to bed with him and giving birth to his children. For a woman to attract a man, it was very simple. As long as she was beautiful and sexy, that was enough. But for a man to attract a woman, it was very difficult. Wealth, social status, and the ability to earn money were the most important. Appearance was secondary. Sometimes, appearance could even be ignored. As long as you had money, that was enough. If Charlotte didn't have his current achievements, social status, and IQ of 998, then he wouldn't have been able to attract a woman like Fan Fan. In the principal's office, Charlotte saw Fan Yiming. Without waiting for Charlotte to speak, Fan Fan stuffed a big bag of gifts into Fan Yiming's hand. "Grandfather, Mr. Xia specially came to see you. He even bought you a big bag of gift." Fan Yiming was overjoyed. "Oh, Mr. Xia, you really are considerate. You are too polite. Coming here is equivalent to coming to work. Why did you buy me a gift?" "It's nothing, just some tea leaves. I don't know if Mr. Fan would like it," Charlotte said politely. "What do you mean by not like it? Even if you gave me a few bags of leaves, I would still be happy." Fan Yiming pulled Charlotte's hand. "You came at the right time. Let's talk about the X-Secret Gold project. I have an idea." Without waiting for Fan Yiming to finish, Fan Fan squeezed in between the two men and pushed Charlotte out. "What are you doing?" Fan Yiming looked at his granddaughter in confusion. Fan Fan turned around and smiled. "Grandfather, I know what you are thinking. I will tell Mr. Xia. I also have an idea. I will tell him first." Fan Yiming had a strange expression on his face. "Mr. Xia, you aren't here to see me, right?" "Of course, Mr. Fan." Before Charlotte could finish, Fan Fan had already dragged Charlotte away. The office door slammed shut. Fan Yiming was still staring at the door. He didn't move at all. Charlotte followed Fan Fan into her office. Once the office door was closed, Fan Fan hugged Charlotte and kissed him on the lip. Because of her sensitive body, her body couldn't stop trembling. But she didn't let go. Her actions were like a moth flying into a flame. Even though she knew she would burn herself, she still wanted to do it. Charlotte didn't refuse. He came here to build a good relationship with Fan Fan. There were many ways to build a good relationship with her. But if she preferred this method, then so be it. Panting, shaking, trembling, all kinds of chaos. A perfectly good office was wrecked. Folders fell to the ground. Cups of water also fell to the ground. Only one piece of clothing was missing from Fan Fan's body. It was a piece of silk fabric that no one could see. Somehow, it had flown to the water dispenser's bucket. When everything stopped, it was already half an hour later. "You didn't turn on the air conditioner?" Charlotte wiped the sweat from his forehead and said while panting. "It broke long ago. I didn't know you liked to do this kind of thing in the office. Otherwise, I would have called the repairman to fix it." Fan Fan was also panting. Her skin was almost completely red. Xia Lei was also very straightforward. He slapped his palm on her full moon. A crisp sound rang out. Her delicate skin rippled. "What are you doing?" Fan Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Her eyes were full of coquettishness. As a core member of the ZN Bureau, Charlotte didn't know whether Fan Fan had received training to please men. He didn't know whether her feelings were real or fake, but he didn't care. Whether it was real or fake, as long as she was happy. "I saw your director." Charlotte changed the topic. "You." Fan Fan wanted to say something but stopped. Charlotte smiled. "I'm not here to mess with you. I'm telling the truth. I just came from 101 innings. The old man was thin and had very special eyes, a bit like an eagle's. His name is Zhongzheng Wu Kue. Am I right?" Fan Fan was silent for a moment before saying, "It's him. I only know that he wants to see you, but I don't know why. I went through a negotiation with him." Charlotte looked at her. "You don't know what the negotiation was?" "I don't know." "Even Ling Hao doesn't know?" Charlotte said. What do you mean? Charlotte smiled. I don't need to sow discord between you and Ling Hao, do I? I came with the greatest sincerity today. If you even doubt my motives, then there's no need for us to talk anymore. Fan Fan suddenly stretched out her mouth and bit Charlotte's arm. Charlotte frowned. Are you a dog? Fan Fan raised her head and licked her lips with her delicate lilac tongue. Her eyes were full of provocation and dissatisfaction. Why didn't you ask me for my motives when you were playing tricks on me? Now that you're full, you're asking me for my motives? None of you men are good. He. Charlotte laughed. Tell me, what did you negotiate with him about? Only then did Charlotte continue. Chapter 662. Charlotte told Fan Fan everything that had happened during the negotiation. After Charlotte finished, Fan Fan was silent for at least a minute before she spoke. Your father is a freelance agent of the FA organization? Fan Fan wanted to say something but hesitated. Charlotte just looked at Fan Fan quietly and didn't say anything. He knew what to say and what not to say. Did you know this before? Fan Fan asked again. Obviously, this was not the only question she wanted to ask, but she chose to bury the other questions in her heart. I know a little, but I'm sure it happened in the past few days. No matter what, he is still my father. How can I not help him when he is in trouble? Speaking of this, Charlotte asked again, do you support me? Fan Fan smiled. In the future, when I have your child, he will be my child's grandfather. Do you think I should support you? Charlotte's hand slid down to Fan Fan's lower abdomen and gently stroked the delicate baby-like place. If it's a son, I'll call him Xia Fan. If it's a daughter, I'll call her. Well, it's still Xia Fan. I'm going to faint. What kind of father are you? You give your son and daughter the same name. Can you be any lazier? Fan Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. I don't dare to count on you for this. I've already thought of the names. The boy will be called Xia Bufan, and the girl will be called Xia Sifan. Does it sound good? It was still Xia Fan, but after adding a word, whether it was a boy's name or a girl's name, it felt different. Xia Bufan, the boy's name sounds good, Charlotte said with a smile, but if the girl's name is Xia Sifan, wouldn't she be a fairy? Only fairies would be as beautiful as a fairy. Yes, our daughter will be as beautiful as a fairy, Fan Fan said proudly. Whether it's a boy or a girl, I hope they will inherit my beauty gene and your IQ gene. Our child will be the most outstanding child in the world. Charlotte, on the other hand, was thinking about his antidote. Fan Fan did not use the antidote she had developed during the passionate exercise just now. It was not difficult to see that she had not developed the right antidote. This was not surprising. Although she was the best bioengineer in the country, the speed of her experiments could not be as fast as his brain could do simulation experiments. But for the sake of safety, the next time he was alone with her, he had to bring some antidote with him. Lei, what do you say? Of course, but you'd better have a pair of twins. Wouldn't it be a pity if you couldn't even use one of them? Ha ha ha. Fan Fan laughed happily. Even her body seemed to have become softer. In Charlotte's arms, she was like a boneless jelly. Let's talk about you. Charlotte once again cut to the chase. About me? Yes, Charlotte said. For my father, I have fallen out with Wu Kuei. He is a person who regards his face as more important than anything else. I can't guarantee that he won't retaliate against me. I don't want to wait for trouble to suddenly come, and only fight back when it hurts. I don't want to be so passive. I have to do something. Fan Fan suddenly became nervous. What do you want to do? He is not someone you can casually touch. I haven't lost my mind. What I said is to fight back through you. Me? What can I do for you? You go and be the director of the ZN Bureau. If you become the director, I will have less trouble. Tell me, how can I get rid of him? How can I send you to the position of the director of the ZN Bureau? You came here for this. Don't you want to be the director of the ZN Bureau? If I didn't want to, I wouldn't have done it. I still regret it, but it's useless to think about it. The talent selection and promotion of the ZN Bureau have their own rules. It's different from what you think. What kind of rules? This was the first time Charlotte heard Fan talk about the inside story of the ZN Bureau, and his heart was full of curiosity. In the ZN Bureau, if a person wants to climb up, he must have achievements. In addition to achievements, wisdom is essential. Wisdom. Yes, wisdom. Fan said, the ZN Bureau is the Brain Bureau. You know this. The meaning of its existence is to give advice to the higher-ups and solve some difficult problems. Difficult problems? What kind of problems are they specifically? Many aspects: the international situation, trade confrontation, technological development, etc. Otherwise, why do you think someone like me is in the ZN Bureau? Fan said, don't think that Ling Hao is just an official who is good at scheming. He is very good at analyzing and dealing with international dispute. Many of his plans have been adopted. Compared to his achievements, I am much weaker in this aspect. So when he schemed against you last time, I was also anxious. Because if he takes over your Thunder Horse military factory, he will definitely become the director of the ZN Bureau, and I will have no chance. If your achievements are better than his, what will happen? Fan said, how good do you want to be? If it's just a little bit, I can't threaten him. If I do a good job, I have a high chance of winning the position of director. After all, I also have my advantage, which is my grandfather. He is the Dean of the Academy of Sciences. Just tell me, what do I need to do to help you win the position of director? Fan smiled bitterly. I am best at bioengineering, and you are best at mechanical manufacturing. What can the two of us do together? What I am most looking forward to is conquering the Secret Gold project. In this way, I will have made a great contribution. This result is enough for me to sit in the position of director of the ZN Bureau. However, the Secret Gold project has stagnated, and I have almost lost confidence. Do you think you can help me conquer the Secret Gold project? Is there anything else besides the Secret Gold project? Charlotte said, don't think about whether I can do it or not. Just tell me. Fan thought for a moment. South Korea has been making a lot of moves recently, and the negotiated free trade zone is also being questioned. The Americans are playing the role of a *T stick, and we can't do anything about it. If I can come up with a plan that can solve the problem, my results will be much better. Charlotte suddenly thought of Enxiuxian's father, Jian. He still had evidence against Jian. It's useless to think about it. Ling Hao has already submitted 3 plans, but none of them have been used. Neither of us are good at politics. What can we do to solve this difficult problem? Don't think about it. Go talk to my grandfather. He wants to conquer the Secret Gold project from the perspective of materials science. Try to persuade him. His desire to personally touch the ancient alloy is getting stronger and stronger. I can't persuade him no matter what. Fan climbed out of Charlotte's arms. She walked to the water dispenser and took the white silk panties. She put them on with her back facing Charlotte. The white silk panties disappeared into the black skirt, but there seemed to be an afterimage of the full moon in the air. It was as white as snow and as tender as frost. It was too wonderful for words. After putting on the panties, Fan adjusted her skirt. She turned around and saw that Charlotte was still lying on the carpet in a daze. He looked like he was thinking about some difficult problem. You can't really want me to solve this difficult problem, right? Fan laughed. Don't think about it. It's useless. Let's think about how to conquer the Secret Gold project. It's more practical. Charlotte suddenly said, the South Korean presidential election is in October, right? Yeah, there's still half a month before it starts. And Jian is one of the candidates, right? Charlotte asked. Yes, but his support isn't high. If nothing goes wrong, his competitor, Pu Shujin, will become the next South Korean president. This is a problem for us. Some of the policies she proposed are disadvantageous to us. How about this? Charlotte's lips curled into a smile. Can you avoid Sungjang and accept this mission? You really want me to accept this mission? Are you joking? I don't even understand Korean. How do you expect me to do it? You don't have to worry about that. You just need to avoid Sungjang and accept this mission. I'll do the rest for you. You? Fan looked at Charlotte in disbelief. Charlotte climbed up from the ground. I'll tell you the truth. I have something on Jinjian. I can make some kind of agreement with him. Ah. Fan was stunned. Also, you don't just have to accept this mission. I want you to be responsible for the deal with Germany. I'll be responsible? Haven't we already discussed the deal with Germany? And as far as I know, Sungjang is prepared to let Ling Hao be responsible for this. By then, Ling Hao will be stationed at your Thunder Horse military factory. Charlotte snorted. It's obvious that Sungjang wants to give him a huge credit. But can he take responsibility just because he wants to? You've already made a deal with Sungjang. Are you still going to ruin his arrangements? You'll completely anger him. Even if you don't agree, it's useless. Ling Hao has Sungjang's support, and he's not easy to deal with. Will he be willing to let such a huge credit slip away? Charlotte smiled. I've indeed made a deal with Sungjang, and it's not good to interfere with him sending Ling Hao to be responsible. But this matter doesn't require me to do anything. The Germans will be able to do it. Don't forget, the Germans want my technology. If I make such a request, how can they not fulfill it? Fan suddenly understood, and she also smiled. Indeed, Charlotte didn't need to personally confront Sungjang and Ling Hao. He only needed to talk to the Germans and play some tricks. The Germans would do as he said and please him. Why was the Germans dissatisfied with Ling Hao and wanted to change the person in charge? Would the higher-ups not agree? Solve the problem in Korea and get the submarine technology from the Germans. Are these 2 credits enough for you to be the director of the ZN Bureau? Of course. Fan moved closer to Charlotte. Don't move. Charlotte, ? Fan suddenly grabbed Charlotte's zipper and gently pulled it for him. You're going to see my grandfather. Do you want him to find out that you slept with his granddaughter? Charlotte was a little embarrassed. I'm talking business with you. Fan pursed her lips and smiled. Yes, Your Highness. I'll give you a satisfactory explanation tomorrow. Charlotte. Chapter 663. The next day, Fan hadn't come yet, but Ling Hao came with his assistant, Song Baiching. In Charlotte's office. Charlotte, I'm here under orders. Ling Hao went straight to the point and said, I'm responsible for the technical exchange between the Thunder Horse military factory and Germany. I hope you can support my work. Charlotte took a sip of the tea Qing Kai Yue made for him and said with a smile, No problem. You and I are brothers. If I don't support you, who should I support? Well, that's good. Ling Hao looked a little embarrassed. Well, don't take what happened last time to heart. I admit that I did something wrong. It's my fault. There are times when people don't make mistakes. But I promise you, I will never make such a mistake again. Brother Ling, what are you talking about? I forgot. Charlotte said. Ling Hao was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, It's good that you forgot. I have to stay here for a while. Where can you arrange for me? Charlotte said, There are VIP rooms in the office building for businessmen. You can stay here. You can also live in the villa. I live there with Rainmetal's Sylvia. Is it convenient for me to live in the villa? It's convenient. I'll arrange it now. Charlotte's mouth showed a hint of a smile that was hard to be found. Ling Hao didn't want to live in the guest room in the office building, because the office building was full of surveillance cameras of the Thunder Horse military factory. If he lived in the villa, he could also contact Sylvia and monitor Charlotte. He had such an idea in his mind. Wasn't Charlotte the same? As long as Ling Hao lived by his side, Ling Hao had no secrets. Then I'll also live in the villa, Song Baicheng said. Charlotte said lightly, forget it. There aren't that many rooms in the villa. You. Song Baicheng's face suddenly became hot. Charlotte said, I absolutely don't mean anything else. I hope Mr. Song can understand. Mr. Song, you can live in the guest room here. Song Baicheng wanted to say something, but Ling Hao glared at him, and he shut his mouth. He knew very well that there must be a room in the villa that could accommodate him. Charlotte's words were a deliberate slap to his face. Ling Hao felt a little uncomfortable because Song Baicheng was his man. As the saying goes, when you beat a dog, look at its master. Charlotte slapped Song Baicheng's face in front of him, which was equivalent to giving him a hard time. Ling Hao's eyes moved to Charlotte's face, and Charlotte's eyes also moved to Ling Hao's face. They looked at each other and smiled. It was a ball of amiable air, but underneath this amiable air hid a chill. Ling Hao and Song Baicheng settled down in the Thunder Horse military factory. Charlotte was too lazy to greet Ling Hao. After he arranged for Ling Hao to enter the villa, he walked to the defense system workshop of the Thunder Horse military factory. Mr. Xia, wait for me. Sylvia's voice came from behind. Charlotte stopped in his tracks and turned to look at the German female mechanic. He smiled and said in German, Miss Sylvia, good morning. It's still early. I've been up for 3 hours. Sylvia said, it's really troublesome not knowing Chinese. My translator will come from Germany in a few days. I'll have to trouble you to take care of me for the next few days. Charlotte said, my secretary, Qin Kaiwe, also understands German. If you need anything when I'm not here, you can ask her for help. Okay, thank you. Sylvia said, Mr. Xia, are you going to the workshop? Can I go with you? Her eyes were filled with desire. Charlotte knew her motives, but he did not refuse. He agreed very straightforwardly, follow me. The defense system workshop was busy. The defense system of the Thunder Horse military factory was already producing a type of reactive armor. This kind of reactive armor was an important part of war vehicles and tanks. Once attacked by anti-tank shells or missiles, this reactive armor would explode outwards to prevent tanks and war vehicles from being destroyed. It could ensure the survival rate of tanks and war vehicles on the battlefield, as well as the safety of personnel. As the first defense product of the Thunder Horse military factory, it would be used on the tanks and war vehicles produced by the Thunder Horse military factory. In fact, whether it was the artillery workshop or the defense system workshop, in Charlotte's plan, they were all to serve the tanks and war vehicles that the Thunder Horse military factory was about to put into production. After returning from Germany, Charlotte brought back the entire Rainmetal company into his brain. He knew all the products and technologies of Rainmetal. The things he brought back from Rainmetal were used in the Thunder Horse military factory, but they were not completely copied. He improved many places and added many of his own designs. Therefore, the current Thunder Horse military factory was actually an enhanced version of Rainmetal. It was just that the scale and production capacity could not be compared to Rainmetal. There were many Russian and Ukrainian technicians and even senior engineers in the defense workshop. They were all talents hired by the Thunder Horse military factory with a lot of money. It was impossible for Charlotte to do everything himself. He was only responsible for the highest-end parts and solving the difficult and miscellaneous diseases. The rest of the work was naturally done by his employees. Charlotte's appearance in the defense workshop immediately caused a small commotion. Many foreign technicians and senior engineers, as well as local workers, greeted Charlotte. Charlotte gestured for them to continue working, then took Sylvia to visit his defense system workshop. Sylvia was able to remain calm at first, but soon she could not remain calm. In the defense workshop of the Thunder Horse military factory, she saw the shadow of Rainmetal, But after a closer look, it was not the case, because the design and machines here were obviously more advanced than those of Rainmetal. How is this possible? Sylvia finally could not hold back the shock and surprise in her heart and said, Mr. Xia, your design here, your production line looks more advanced than our Rainmetal defense system workshop. There are many better improvements made in many places, but we haven't found the problem yet. Can I ask, who is the chief engineer in charge of the design of this workshop? Xia Lei smiled. It's so far away yet so close. What did you say? Sylvia could not even understand Chinese, let alone the more esoteric idioms. Charlotte translated for her in German. Oh my God, you are simply… Sylvia's eyes shone with uncontrollable excitement. You are simply like an omnipotent god. Not only can you process the most sophisticated parts in the world, but you also design the world's best sniper rifle, assault rifle, hellhound artillery. You also… Charlotte interrupted her and said with a smile, Don't praise me, I'm not an omnipotent god. I'm just better at these things. Apart from these things, I'm actually quite a failure. My wife divorced me. If I were an omnipotent god, would she still divorce me? She's an idiot. As soon as he said that, Sylvia said, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that she did a stupid thing. I feel that if there is a man who is close to perfection in this world, it can only be you. I can't think of anyone who is better than you. Her eyes shone with excitement, and Charlotte knew what she was thinking at the moment. This was the first time he had heard of a man who was close to perfection in this world. This statement also triggered some thoughts in him. My body has been evolving. My brain, my body, my organs are all evolving in the direction of perfection. What is the end of this evolution? I haven't eaten the last AE capsule. If I don't eat it, will my evolution be perfect? If I eat it, will I be able to enter the perfect state at a faster speed? To eat the last AE capsule or not was only a choice. This choice might seem simple, but it was the most difficult choice for Charlotte to make in this world. If he didn't eat it, he was satisfied with the current situation. But if he didn't eat it, he couldn't resist the temptation of what would happen after he ate it. Mr. Xia, I want to… Sylvia's voice interrupted Charlotte's thoughts. What do you want to do? Charlotte asked. I'd like to take a look at the hellhound cannon you designed. Is that okay? Sylvia asked hesitantly. Xia Lei said, Of course you can see it. Not only can you see it, I can also give you one for you to dismantle it. I can also grant you the permission to take photos of it and send those photos back to Rainmetal. This… Sylvia looked at Charlotte in surprise. She couldn't believe that Charlotte would actually fulfill her wish. In order to achieve this wish, she was even ready to sacrifice herself. But now, it seemed that she didn't even need to take off her clothes to achieve her goal. Charlotte suddenly moved closer to Sylvia's ear and whispered, I'll help you, so you have to help me too. I'm in a bit of trouble, and you can help me solve it. The hot air blew into her ear, and Sylvia's dimples quietly turned red. What do you want me to do? I'm not that kind of casual woman. She clearly misunderstood because Charlotte's words were ambiguous, and also because his posture was too ambiguous, and it was obvious that he was flirting with her. Charlotte didn't let her misunderstand and interrupted her. What I want you to do is actually very simple. You just need to… The blush on Sylvia's face disappeared, and she felt extremely awkward. Is this okay? Charlotte then looked at Sylvia and asked. Sylvia shrugged. It's a bit embarrassing, but no problem. I'll help you. Charlotte smiled. Then I'll thank you in advance. Ring 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 ring. His phone rang. Charlotte took out his phone and looked at it before walking to the side to pick up the call. I've done it on my side. Fanfan's voice was heard. I used my grandfather's relationship with the higher-ups to sell his face. Charlotte said indifferently, Well done. The higher-ups' intention is very clear. As long as I can solve the problem in Korea and successfully obtain Germany's submarine technology, Wu Kuei will retire early, and I will be the next director of the ZN Bureau. It was Fanfan's voice. Charlotte could no longer maintain his pretense of calmness. He laughed. Haha, that's great. I also have good news for you. I'm also ready on my side. Wait for my good news. I also have good news for you. I'm about to develop the right antidote. Just wait to be a father. Fanfan's laughter came from the phone. Xia Lei suddenly felt that his current relationship with Fanfan was the most complicated relationship between a man and a woman in the world. Chapter 664. In the dead of night, Charlotte sat quietly on the sofa in the room, his eyes locked on the floor under his feet. The floor and even the concrete floor didn't exist in his left eye, and Ling Hao was in the room under his feet. Ling Hao was packing his luggage. His luggage was simple: a suitcase, a laptop, a change of suit, and a few pairs of underwear and socks. After putting everything in place, Ling Hao sat on the sofa and made a phone call. Boss, I've settled down in the Thunder Horse military factory. Ling Hao's voice was very low, but it still couldn't escape Charlotte's lips reading. This phone call was made to Wu Kuei. Although Charlotte couldn't hear Wu Kuei's voice, he could tell from Ling Hao's expression and tone. Ling Hao chose to call Wu Kuei at this time, and it wasn't hard to see that Ling Hao's relationship with Wu Kuei was better than that of Fanfan and Wu Kuei. Yes, boss, please rest assured, I will take care of things. Ling Hao said. Charlotte seems to still be dissatisfied with me, but he doesn't dare to be presumptuous to me, but he gave Song Buoqing a hard time. Of course I won't care about such a small matter, let him be happy for now. Okay, I will contact you immediately if anything happens. Goodbye. After the call ended, Ling Hao didn't put down the phone, but continued to make calls. He made 2 calls in China, 4 calls abroad, and all of them were to South Korea. The 4 calls to South Korea were related to the current situation, and the people who answered the phone were not simple. From Ling Hao's address, there were members of parliament, and also important members of the South Korean opposition party. Charlotte's heart moved. It seems that Ling Hao hasn't given up on South Korea. He is really a diligent person. If I don't help Fanfan, he will definitely win the power struggle in the ZN Bureau, but… Charlotte's mouth showed a trace of a sneer. The relationship between him, Ling Hao, and Fanfan could be described by an idiom: when the crane and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Ling Hao was the crane, Fanfan was the mussel, and he was the fisherman. The fisherman in the idiom was a pure fisherman, but this fisherman had an affair with the mussel. He was a fisherman who had both money and sex. After making the last call, Ling Hao entered the bathroom. Charlotte was not interested in peeping at him anymore. Charlotte also took out his phone and dialed a number that he hadn't called for a long time. Who? After the call was connected, An Jinjian's voice came from the other side of the phone. It was filled with suspicion and vigilance. My old friend, have you forgotten about me? Charlotte said with a smile. The other end of the phone was silent for a moment before An Jinjian's voice came again. Mr. Xia, why are you calling me so late at night? Can we reminisce about the past? Don't joke around. We're not friends. How can you say that? I'm here with enthusiasm. You're here with enthusiasm? And Jinjian snorted coldly. When I hear your voice, I think of Xiuxian. My son, you've probably forgotten about him, right? Do you think I've forgotten about his death? Mr. An, of course I haven't forgotten, and it's impossible for me to forget. But what I remember is that he brought so many killers to kill me. From your perspective, you've lost your son. But from my point of view, how could I just sit there and wait for him and those assassins to kill me? Everything has its consequences. This is karma. Accept the reality. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. If you have something to say, just say it. Alright, then I'll be straightforward. I think you've probably forgotten about the things in my hands, right? What are you trying to do? And Jinjian's voice was filled with anger. Don't misunderstand. I know that your situation in the election isn't optimistic. I'm not here to kick you when you're down. On the contrary, I'm here to help you. You're keeping those things to threaten me to achieve your goal. Would I believe that you're here to help me? Of course I have my own goal. I can't help you for free, can I? Tell me, what's your goal? To facilitate the free trade agreement as well as a few targeted policies, and to make some changes to them. This is my request. It's very simple. Who do you think I am? The current president of South Korea? Even if I am, your request is too much. Do you think I'll agree? Do you think you can refuse? Charlotte's tone was indifferent, but there was a hint of threat in his words. If you don't agree, then I'll destroy you. You should be very clear that even if I agree, it's useless. Your request is beyond the scope of my ability. There's no use even if you threaten me. What if I can help you win the election? Charlotte said. Are you joking? Would I joke with you about such a thing? Tell me, what kind of help do you need? And Jin Jian was silent for a moment. I know you have a master thief in your hands. I want to borrow him. Also, my funds are being monitored and can't be used for the election. I need a clean sum of money. I can lend you the person, but you have to guarantee his safety. It's just stealing some things. No problem, I can guarantee his safety. How much do you want? 100 million USD. An Jin Jian said. The money and the person are not a problem. I can give them to you, Charlotte said coldly, but you have to remember, if you don't do what you promised me, you know what the consequences will be. I can't guarantee 100%, but I'll do my best to satisfy you. Then it's settled. I'll personally bring the money and the person to South Korea. You have to keep my whereabouts a secret. No problem, right? Okay, no problem. I wish us a successful cooperation. And Jin Jian hung up. Xia Lei put down the phone, and a person's face appeared in his mind. This person was Gu Qian. Gu Qian was also in South Korea. The CIA and the FA organization were also brewing a plan against him. Rather than waiting for Gu Qian, the CIA, and the FA organization to attack him, it was better to attack South Korea while they were still gathering and catch them off guard. Pu Shuzhen was in Jin Jian's main competitor. One of them would become the next president of South Korea. The outside world favored Pu Shuzhen, and Pu Shuzhen was indeed ahead of An Jin Jian in public opinion. Furthermore, she was supported by the U.S. In this kind of situation, An Jin Jian was equivalent to an abandoned character, isolated and without help. The person he was extending a helping hand to An Jin Jian was equivalent to sending charcoal in snowy weather, so An Jin Jian absolutely wouldn't betray him in this kind of situation. As long as he had An Jin Jian as an ally, it would be much easier to carry out operations in South Korea. Kill Gu Qian. This thought was beating in Charlotte's heart. It was very intense. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door. Charlotte collected his thoughts and looked over. He immediately saw Sylvia standing outside the door. Sylvia was wearing a set of white pajamas. Under the illumination of the lights in the corridor, it had a unique sense of beauty. Although it was already late at night, the two bunnies on her body didn't want to sleep. They were still staring at the outside world with their big red eyes through a thin layer of gauze. What was she trying to do by knocking on the door dressed like this so late at night? Knock, knock, knock. Sylvia knocked on the door again. Charlotte wanted to pretend to be asleep, but Sylvia was so persistent that he could only bite the bullet and open the door. Miss Sylvia, what's the matter? Charlotte couldn't stop his eyes from looking at her chest. In fact, the problem wasn't her chest, but her clothes. She was only wearing a set of pajamas without a bra or panties. When the lights in the room shone on her body, it was as if she wasn't wearing any clothes. Her smooth and tender abdomen, as well as Charlotte's abdomen, was already starting to heat up. He didn't know why, or maybe it was because of his evolution, he had become especially sensitive. He would have a strong reaction when he was slightly stimulated, and his ability in that area was getting stronger. If women were his weakness, then this weakness had been magnified several times. "Mr. Xia, can I use your bathroom?" Sylvia looked at Charlotte with a shy blush on her face. "Is there a problem with your bathroom?" Charlotte was very curious. Sylvia nodded her head seriously. There's no hot water. I'll go take a look," Charlotte said. No need. Not only is there no hot water, there are also cockroaches. I don't want to take a bath there. Can I borrow your bathroom? Can I?" Sylvia raised a finger. "Just 10 minutes. Charlotte was speechless. In the end, he opened the door for Sylvia. Putting aside the fact that there was no hot water in Sylvia's bathroom, and putting aside the fact that there were cockroaches in the villa, as the owner of this place, he couldn't very well reject such a request. Moreover, he still had a favor to ask of Sylvia. Therefore, even though he knew that her purpose wasn't to take a bath, he pretended to be confused. Sylvia entered Charlotte's room and went into the bathroom. Soon, the sound of running water could be heard from the bathroom. Charlotte sat on the sofa and looked at the tightly shut glass door. The door didn't exist in his eyes, and Sylvia was indeed taking a bath. She washed up, washed down, washed up, washed up, washed up, washed up, and washed up. There were a lot of bubbles. Is she really here to take a bath? This thought popped up in Charlotte's mind. For some reason, he felt a little disappointed. A few minutes later, Sylvia's voice suddenly came from the bathroom. "Aya, Mr. Xia, I forgot to bring my towel. Can I borrow yours for a while?" Indeed, she wasn't really here to take a bath. No problem. Charlotte's lips curled into a mischievous smile. He found his towel and brought it to the bathroom door. He reached out and knocked on the door. Sylvia suddenly opened the bathroom door. She didn't just open it a little, but pushed it open completely. The moment the door opened, her naked body was exposed to Xia Lei's line of sight. She was as beautiful as a mountain and as beautiful as a river. Charlotte pretended to be surprised. "Miss Sylvia, stop pretending. Your crotch has already betrayed you." Sylvia's gaze shifted to the space between Charlotte's legs. She took a look and suddenly moved closer. Her wet body immediately stuck into Charlotte's embrace. Charlotte held the towel, but he didn't know what else it could be used for. "I wanted to sleep with you in Germany." Sylvia's voice trembled in excitement. "Anina told me that if I seduce you, there's an 80% chance that you won't reject me, right?" "Charlotte, Anina, this prodigal woman. Are you going to listen to me all the time?" Sylvia stared straight at Charlotte. Her azure blue eyes were filled with burning passion and desire. Charlotte's bottom line collapsed. He carried Sylvia, strode to the bed, and threw Sylvia on the bed. Before he could unbuckle his belt, Sylvia pulled him down, and their lips were tightly pressed together. Dry wood met fire, and the fire went out of control. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Then, it was Yelena's voice. "Chairman Xia, there's something urgent for you to handle." The two of them were instantly petrified. Knock, knock, knock. Yelena knocked on the door 3 more times. The two of them, who were in a state of half-union, then came back to their senses. Sylvia released her legs that were clamping onto Charlotte's waist in a fluster, and Charlotte pulled up his zipper in a fluster. "Coming, coming!" Chapter 665. After Sylvia put on her pajamas, Charlotte opened the door for Yelena. Yelena only glanced at Sylvia once before looking away. Sylvia, on the other hand, seemed very nervous and didn't even dare to look at Yelena. Yelena had warned her and she still remembered the sharp knife on Yelena's inner thigh. However, if she had to choose again, she would still knock on Charlotte's door. "What is it?" Charlotte asked. Yelena said, "Come out and talk." Charlotte walked out of the room and closed the door. Yelena moved closer to Xia Lei's ear and said in a low voice, "Your father wants you to go." Charlotte nodded. "Let's go." Yelena looked at the door. "Is it okay for her to stay in your room?" Charlotte lowered his voice. "It's just a room. There's no secret." Yelena didn't say anything else and walked to the stairs. Charlotte hesitated for a moment before opening the door and saying to Sylvia, "I have something urgent to do. Excuse me. When are you coming back?" Sylvia obviously didn't want her and Charlotte to fall apart. "I don't know." "Then, I'll go back to my room," Sylvia said disappointedly. Charlotte smiled at her. "Remember what you promised me. You must do it well." Sylvia nodded, and her lips curled into a meaningful smile. Walking out of the villa, Charlotte looked back at Ling Hao's room. At that moment, he saw Ling Hao's curtains move slightly. A cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Ling Hao was peeking. Charlotte's left eye twitched and the glass and curtains on the window disappeared from his left eye. He saw Ling Hao taking out his phone to make a call. His eyes locked on Ling Hao's lips as he interpreted Ling Hao's words. "Xia Lei is going to go out with his secretary. Follow him and see where he is going to meet who." With that, Ling Hao hung up the phone. Charlotte looked away. He didn't have to guess to know that Ling Hao was calling Song Baiching. Sure enough, when Charlotte and Yelena got in the car, Song Baiching walked out of the office sneakily and was about to get his car. Charlotte frowned. "That guy is really troublesome. I can't let him know where my dad lives." He hadn't gotten the pardon order yet and he didn't want any accidents. Yelena said lightly, "You just need to drive. I've already taken care of everything else." "You've taken care of everything?" "Before I came to knock on your door, I punctured all 4 tires of Song Baiching's car," said Yelena. Charlotte, the Chevrolet Suburban drove out of the gate of the Thunder Horse Army factory and soon disappeared into the night. Song Baiching walked quickly to his Hongqi sedan. He was about to open the door and drive after Charlotte when his eyes suddenly moved to the rear tire. His expression suddenly froze. 2 seconds later, Song Baiching kicked the front tire, which was also out of gas, and roared like a madman, "Who the F***ck did this?" "Who?" More than 10 minutes later, the Chevrolet Suburban stopped by the side of the road in the field. Charlotte and Yelena got out of the car and walked through the mountain village. Then they went up the hill and came to the door of the farmhouse. There were no lights in the yard and it was dark. But Charlotte had already seen 7 people standing in the yard. Of these 7 people, one was his father, Xia Changhe, and the other was the Tiger Erdemo of the Zodiac team. The other 5 were black, 2 were white, and 1 was Asian. Among the 5 unfamiliar faces, the only woman was a black woman. She was in her early 20s, tall and long-legged, with the typical thick lips and plump buttocks of black people. When he first saw her, Charlotte thought that it was Rihanna, who he had met once before. Obviously, she was not. She only looked like Rihanna. Seeing this situation, a thought suddenly came to Charlotte's mind. Are these people from the Zodiac team? If these people were all from the Zodiac team, plus the chicken Yelena, the number of people in the Zodiac team would reach 7. Only 5 more people were needed to gather. "Go in." Yelena's voice was heard. Charlotte suppressed the excitement in his heart, reached out and pushed the door open, then walked in. In the yard, everyone's eyes were focused on Charlotte. Some of their eyes were filled with surprise, some with respect, and some with expectation. It was not difficult to see from their eyes that they obviously knew who Charlotte was, and they were very clear about what this young man in front of them meant to them. "Although you have all seen his information, I still want to introduce him," Xia Changhe said. "This is my son, Charlotte." Charlotte nodded in greeting. "Hello, everyone." Xia Changhe then said to Charlotte, "They are all from the Zodiac team, and they all know Chinese." Then he said, "Introduce yourselves." A white young man walked in front of Charlotte, hugged Charlotte, and said in Chinese, "Long, Alessio, I am from Italy." Charlotte patted Alessio's back. Another white young man also came forward and hugged Charlotte. "Nyo, Marcus, I am from the United States." Charlotte patted Marcus's back. The black young man came over and hugged Charlotte. "Yang Bagu, I am from the Congo." Charlotte patted Bagu's back. The black young woman also walked in front of Charlotte and hugged Charlotte. "Bunny, Amanda, I am from England." Charlotte also patted Amanda's back. The last Asian young man also came over and hugged Charlotte. "Ma, Pu Taeyong, I am from Korea." Charlotte also patted Pu Taeyong's back. Erdamu smiled. "There is no need to introduce me and Yelena." Charlotte also smiled. "It is my honor to meet you. They are your people from now on." Xia Changhe said, "They can do anything for you. You don't have to be polite with them. You just need to give them orders." Amanda said, "Lei, we are all your father's children. We are a family." Except for Erdemo, these people in front of him were orphans adopted or rescued by his father, Xia Changhe. It could be said that without Xia Changhe, there would be no them. They regarded Xia Changhe as their father, so Charlotte was naturally their brother. With this kind of relationship, there was no need to be polite. However, Charlotte had his own ideas. That was, his father, Xia Changhe, did give these people a new lease of life, but it was not him after all. He had no friendship with these people. The reason why these people were willing to listen to his orders was because of his father, Xia Changhe. In a short period of time, these people may be very obedient and willing to do anything for him, but in a long time, there was no guarantee. Therefore, he had to use his own way to manage these people. He also had to establish his own majesty and make these people obey his orders as they obey his father's orders. With a plan in mind, Charlotte said with a smile, "Yes, we are a family. I have now taken over the position of the head of the family from my father's hands. I will simply say a few words. From today onwards, I will give you 500,000 yuan a month as your family allowance. In addition, I will give you the best equipment in the world. You will get an XL 2500 sniper rifle and a Gale assault rifle. Our Zodiac Squad's vehicles and electronic equipment will also be the best in the world." The yard was silent. The 7 members of the Zodiac Squad looked at Charlotte with a strange look in their eyes. Charlotte was stunned for a moment and then spread out his hands. "Did I say something wrong?" "Wow!" The black girl, Amanda, suddenly came up to Xia Lei and gave him a hug. Her face was full of joy and gratitude. "You helped me solve my mortgage problem. You're the best parent. You are really my angel," Horatio said with a smile. Pu Taeyong laughed and said, "So, in the future, I can eat any barbecue I want." No one was unhappy. The previous leader of the Zodiac Squad, Xia Changhe, didn't have the financial and material resources that Charlotte had. These people didn't even get paid for their work. Now that Charlotte had become the new leader, his forthrightness easily conquered their hearts. No one would say no to money. Even assassins had to buy rice and bread, right? Xia Changhe sighed. "Brat, don't spoil them too much." Charlotte smiled. "I won't. Don't worry, Dad." Xia Changhe didn't say anything else. No one knew a son better than a father. He knew what Charlotte was thinking, and he thought it was right. After all, Charlotte wasn't him. If Charlotte drove a luxury car and lived a good life, while these people who followed him were still struggling at the bottom of society, as time went by, these people would inevitably have complaints. If that was the case, who would be willing to work for Charlotte? Charlotte chatted with the members of the Zodiac Squad for a while. After familiarizing himself with them, he cut to the chase. "Dad, I want to go to Korea." "You want to kill Gu Qin?" Xia Changhe said. Charlotte nodded. "He must die." "I knew you would do this, so I called them here in advance." Xia Changhe sighed. "I won't stop you, but you must be careful. What awaits you is a fierce battle." "I will be careful. What about the other 5? Charlotte asked. "They can't come for the time being, but you will see them," Xia Changhe said. Charlotte thought of the pig again, but he didn't ask. Lei, when do we leave? Pu Taiyong said, Korea is my territory. If you have any plans, I can go back and arrange them in advance. Charlotte said, we leave tomorrow night. We and our equipment have to be smuggled over. Do you have any channels? It's nothing, no problem, Pu Taiyong answered without hesitation. Charlotte said to Erdemo, I will go back and prepare all the equipment. You drive my car and bring it out. Erdemo nodded. No problem. Dad, the pardon order will come tomorrow. Tomorrow you can walk on the street openly. Charlotte said, you go see little Shui. She has almost forgotten what you look like. Xia Changhe nodded. His eyes were filled with tears. I can finally go home. Chapter 666. At noon the next day, Wu Kuei sent someone to deliver the pardon. It was equivalent to a turning point in Xia Changhe's life, allowing him to walk out of the world of darkness and into the world of light. An old van stopped in front of the office. The driver was a driver from Whitestag. Xia Changhe was sitting on the tattered sofa at the back. Beside him were two dirty woven bags filled with clothes and blanket. Such an arrangement was only to create the illusion that he had returned from a wandering life. Not many people knew of Xia Changhe's true identity, but many knew that Charlotte's father had been missing for years. Some acts still had to be put on, even if they looked fake. Before the van's door opened, Xia Shui rushed in. But she stopped after running for a short distance. She didn't dare to go in. She was afraid that it was a dream and that she would wake up if she got too close. Charlotte walked to her side. Go. The person he wants to see the most is you. Only then did Xia Shui walk back to the van. At that moment, the van's door opened and Xia Changhe came out with two woven bags. He was burly and his face was full of vicissitudes. There were also some white hairs on his temples. He really did look like a migrant worker who had been rescued from a mine for a few years. How can he be Chairman Xia's father? Yeah, he looks like a migrant worker who just came back from work. Yeah, his hands are full of calluses. How can a pampered person have such rough hands? Keep it down. Don't let Chairman Xia hear you. He'll be unhappy. Yeah, Chairman Xia's father has been missing for many years. We've only just found him. Don't make Chairman Xia angry. In front of the office, a group of high-ranking members of Rema Group, who had followed Charlotte to welcome Xia Changhe, were whispering among themselves. Charlotte couldn't help but want to laugh when he heard that. He couldn't help but wonder if these people would still talk like that if they knew what his father did for a living and how he came back. If their father, Xia Changhe, looked at them, they would probably be afraid too, right? Dad, Xia Shui could no longer control her emotions. She cried and threw herself into Xia Changhe's arms. Why are you crying? Don't cry, silly girl. Xia Changhe gently patted Xia Shui's back. He asked Xia Shui not to cry, but his eyes were full of tears. He was finally home. He had waited for this day for too many years. In the office building, Ling Hao quietly looked at Xia Changhe and Xia Shui downstairs. His eyes were cold. Song Baiqing, who was standing next to Ling Hao, sneered, the head of the FA organization's agents, who committed murder, arson, and treason. It's a joke that such a man can enjoy his old age. Ling Hao said faintly, it's all thanks to him that he raised such a promising son. That pardon order is enough to clear his name. Are we going to let it go? Song Baiqing said. He has a secret, and I suspect that there is a secret between him and Charlotte. Zongjing's boss also said that Xia Changhe is a breakthrough. Are we just going to give up? Ling Hao sneered, give up? There is no such word in my dictionary. Do you have any plans? Don't worry. Let's settle the matter with the Germans first. Xia Changhe just got the pardon order, and we can't take any action against him immediately. You'd better be smart too. Don't cause any trouble during this period of time. Song Baiqing nodded. I understand. Under the office building, Charlotte nudged Ryu Youngnam with his arm. Why are you still standing there? Go and introduce him. Ryu Youngnam looked nervous. Charlotte smiled. What are you afraid of? He is not a tiger. He won't eat you. Ryu Youngnam smiled awkwardly. He still didn't go over. His legs felt like they were tied with several sandbags. His heart was actually very strange because Xia Changhe looked like a rustic old farmer, but his body had a kind of breathtaking aura. His eyes were like the eyes of an eagle, which made people inexplicably afraid. He didn't know why, but he was a little afraid of this father-in-law whom he met for the first time. Masahiro, come here. At this time, Xia Shui said. Oh. Lu Zhengnan responded as if it was a conditioned reflex, and then he walked over. Charlotte smiled bitterly. He found that his prestige as the chairman was less than 1/3 of his sister's. He asked Ryu Youngnam to go over, but Ryu Youngnam was hesitant. Xia Shui just said one sentence, and Ryu Youngnam went over without hesitation. Ryu Youngnam came in front of Xia Changhe with a smile on his face. Hi, uncle. You are. Xia Changhe looked at Ryu Youngnam. Xia Shui said with a smile, Dad, he is my boyfriend. His name is Ryu Youngnam. He is my brother's right-hand man. Good, good, good. He. Xia Changhe smiled happily. In fact, he lived nearby. How could he not know who Xia Shui's boyfriend was? He just wanted to be low-key and normal so that he wouldn't scare her. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and help my dad carry the package. Xia Shui touched Ryu Youngnam. Uncle, let me help you carry it. Ryu Youngnam followed and took action. He didn't care whether Xia Changhe agreed or not. He directly grabbed the 2 dirty woven bags from Xia Changhe's hand. Xia Changhe came over and stretched out his big hand to hold Charlotte's shoulder. Dad, you are back. You are back. The father and son didn't have any extra words, and they didn't need to. Charlotte walked to the villa with Xia Changhe. Xia Shui and Ryu Youngnam followed behind. Yelena. He actually wants to arrange Xia Changhe to live in the villa. Song Baicheng's eyes were cold. He wanted to live in the villa, but Charlotte said that there were no rooms. He had forgotten about it, but when he saw Charlotte walking to the villa with Xia Changhe, his face was burning again. This is his place, Ling Hao said. But that is the location of Project X Mystic Gold. Who is Xia Changhe? How can he get close to Project X Mystic Gold? Xia Lei was really too unscrupulous. It's true that he is capable, but he can't do whatever he wants, right? If God wants someone to die, he will first make that person crazy. Some things are not settled now, but it doesn't mean that they won't be settled in the future. Let's wait and see, Ling Hao said. At this moment, Sylvia walked over from the staircase. She was holding a phone in her hand and looked around. Isn't she the chief mechanic of Germany's Rheinmetall? What is she doing here? Ling Hao's gaze shifted to Sylvia. I'll go and ask. Song Baicheng went up. Hello, lowly student. Sylvia greeted Song Baicheng with her broken Chinese. Miss Sylvia, what's the matter? Song Baicheng asked. Sylvia shook her head. I don't understand. Then, she typed in German on her phone's translation software and went over to Song Baicheng's side to show him the translation. The translation on the software was, Mr. Xia is an unreasonable person. He promised to have a technical exchange with me, but he still hasn't fulfilled his promise. I want to talk to the person in charge. Can you tell me who it is? After Song Baicheng saw the translation, he said to Ling Hao, this German woman said that Charlotte is unreasonable. He promised to have a technical exchange with her, but he didn't fulfill his promise. She wants to talk to you. Ling Hao frowned. The German official delegation hasn't arrived yet. Why would a mechanic like her want to talk to me? You just have to deal with her. With that, he turned and left. Sylvia typed in German on her phone again and went closer to Song Baicheng. She was very close to Song Baicheng, shoulder to shoulder. Her face was almost touching Song Baicheng's face. She was also wearing a low-cut V-neck cotton t-shirt. A large portion of her snow-white skin and bottomless cleavage were exposed in front of Song Baicheng without any cover. If it was an ordinary woman, Song Baicheng wouldn't be moved. However, Sylvia was a stunning foreign chick. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, a sexy figure, and an exquisite baby face. She was very alluring. As she got closer, her body smelled so good. Coupled with her alluring body, Song Baicheng didn't know where to look. However, Song Baicheng still saw the translation on her phone. "Sir, can you bring me to the person in charge? I want to talk to him." Song Baicheng took Sylvia's phone and typed in Mandarin. "I am. What do you want to talk about?" After Sylvia saw the translation, a sweet smile appeared on her face. She typed in German. "I didn't expect you to be the person in charge of this technical exchange. Sir, you're so young and handsome. You're amazing. Hee hee." Song Baicheng laughed. Sylvia typed in German again. "I want to buy you a cup of coffee. Is that okay?" Song Baicheng typed in Mandarin. "There's no coffee shop here." Sylvia typed in German. "Charlotte gave me an office. There's coffee in my office. We can talk while drinking." Song Baicheng was too lazy to type. He smiled and said, "Okay, I'll go to your office." Sylvia smiled and suddenly gave Song Baicheng a hug. The blonde beauty was in his arms. Her body smelled so good. Her chest was soft and bouncy. Song Baicheng's heart suddenly became young, however. He didn't know that in the security room of the Thunder Horse Army factory, Erdemil was staring at the surveillance screen with a sneer on his face. Half an hour later, after settling his father, Xia Changhe, in the villa, Charlotte found him. "Brother Ling, there's a problem with the branch in Sichuan. I have to go there." Charlotte went straight to the point. "The official delegation from Germany is coming. Why are you going to Sichuan at this critical moment?" Ling Hao said, "Let's put the matter of the Sichuan branch aside for the time being. The matter here is the most important." Charlotte said, "I've asked Ambassador Philip. It will take 2 days for the official delegation from Germany to arrive here. It'll only take me 2 days to go to Sichuan. I'll be back by the time the official delegation from Germany arrives." But Ling Hao wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. He obviously didn't want to complicate such an important matter. Charlotte patted Ling Hao's shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Brother Ling. It's a deal. I'm in a hurry. I have to go now." Before Ling Hao could say anything else, Charlotte had already turned around and left. Going to the Sichuan branch was just a cover for an operation in South Korea. Gu Qian must die. Chapter 667. In the afternoon, a Chevrolet Suburban off-road van arrived at Kyoto International Airport. In the car, Charlotte patted Ryu Youngnam's shoulder. "For the next 2 days, try not to go out. Just stay in the factory. I have already talked to Zhou Xiaohong. She will help you." Ryu Youngnam looked at the mirror on the passenger seat. His expression was still very surprised. The man in the mirror wasn't his face, but Charlotte's face. He had observed it many times, but he still couldn't find any flaws. Looking at himself in the mirror, he even had a strange feeling that his soul had mistakenly entered Charlotte's body. The Charlotte in the driver's seat was naturally another face, a strange face. He looked to be in his early 30s with dark skin. From his body, he didn't look like the chairman of Rema Group at all. Instead, he looked like a migrant worker moving bricks on a construction site. Even if he walked on the street like this, no one would look at him, let alone attract anyone's attention. "Go in, your flight is about to take off." "Brother, then I'm leaving. Although I don't know what you are going to do, but be careful." Ryu Youngnam left these words, opened the door and walked out. "Remember what I said. I'm leaving. Take care." Charlotte also said goodbye and then drove away. He didn't tell Ryu Yeongnam that he was going to Korea, nor did he tell Ryu Yeongnam what he was going to do in Korea. This had nothing to do with trust or distrust, but it was just a protective measure. After all, Ryu Yeongnam was just an ordinary person. There was no benefit in letting him know the truth. Instead, it would put him in some unnecessary trouble or even danger. In fact, even Xia Shui didn't know that her father was the head of the FA organization's secret service. The truth, she knew, was that her father was trapped in Cuba for several years and was only recently rescued by the Cuban police and returned to China. Charlotte drove the car into the airport parking lot, then turned off the engine and got out of the car. He got into a Buick business car that had been waiting for a long time. There were 2 people in the car. The driver was Park Tae-yong. "Is everything ready?" Charlotte went straight to the point. Pu Tae-yong said, "Everything is ready. The weapons have been transported to the dock. The ship and the people are in position, just waiting for us to go over." "Let's go," said Charlotte. The Buick MPV drove out of the airport parking lot and headed toward Jilin. Pu Tae-yong was very focused on driving. Charlotte had nothing to do. He sat in the car and thought about every member of the Zodiac fighting team. His father, Xia Changhe, had given him the battle team, which made him even more powerful. However, he knew too little about the members of the battle team. He wanted to master the strengths of every member of the Zodiac battle team. Only then would he be able to make good use of this team. "Pu Tae-yong, what are you best at?" Charlotte broke the silence. Pu Tae-yong paused for a moment. Drive. I'm good at driving." "You mean driving?" Charlotte was slightly disappointed. "Driving? Everyone could drive now. What kind of specialty was that?" "Driving is one of them. But in addition to driving, I can also fly airplanes and fighter jet. I can also drive tanks." Pu Tae-yong laughed. "Boss, I'm in charge of the transportation part of our battle team's operations. Last time, my dad asked me and Elena to blow up a training base of the FA organization in Siberia. I modified an agricultural plane that sprayed pesticides and flew over with a bomb to blow up the place." Charlotte was speechless. "Boss, can I make an application?" "Application for what?" "Our transportation is too backward. If you can give me a sum of money, I can modify our transportation. This will also be a guarantee for our operations. Oh, I promise you, I will use every penny you give me to upgrade our transportation." Pu Tae-yong looked very serious. He was afraid that Charlotte would misunderstand that he wanted to make some money. Charlotte smiled. "No problem. How much?" "2 million will be fine. I'll give it to you after this mission is over." Charlotte agreed readily. "Thank you, boss. You're so straightforward. My dad is also straightforward, but he doesn't have money." Charlotte smiled and changed the topic. "By the way, tell me about the others. I don't know you very well, but I have to know." "That's not a problem. I can tell you." Pu Tae-yong said, "Let me tell you about Amanda first." In Xia Lei's mind, the black chick from England appeared. She looked very much like Rihanna, with a hot body. He was very curious about what Amanda was good at. "She is English and lives in London. When my dad found her, her single mother was lying in an alley with a bullet in her carotid artery. She was only 8 years old at that time, pitifully young. But now she is no longer that weak and pitiful little girl. She is a very good hacker who can easily hack into the internal system of the CIA. In addition, she is also our tactical planner. Many of our operations are planned by her." Xia Lei understood in his heart. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. This was a very famous Chinese idiom. Rabbits looked docile and good-looking, but they were very cautious and cunning. Amanda was the rabbit in the Zodiac team. Her specialty and characteristics were exactly the same as a cunning rabbit. Pu Tae-yong was a horse. A horse's specialty was running, transportation, and speed. His specialty and characteristics were also the same as a horse's. "What about Alessio?" Charlotte remembered the handsome Italian. He was the dragon in the Zodiac team. Pu Taiyong said, Alessio is from Sicily, Italy, the paradise of gangsters. His parents were killed in the gang's vendetta. He grew up in street violence and gunfights. When he was 8 years old, he could already shoot and kill. He is the bravest in our team. He is not afraid of death. Every time we fight, he rushes to the front and kills the most enemies. The bravest one is not afraid of death. He always rushes to the front and kills the most enemies. He is like a fierce dragon crossing the river. This was probably the reason why his father, Xia Changhe, used the word dragon to describe Alessio. Bagu is from Kananga, Congo. He is also an orphan. His parents died in the war when he was very young. He is an expert in jungles and mountains. He is familiar with everything in the primeval forest. He can also find the right route and water source in any complex mountainous terrain. He is indispensable in mountain battles and jungle operations. Dad said he is a goat in human form. Pu Taiyong introduced Bagu. Goats can come and go freely on steep cliff. His father used the word goat to describe Bagu. What about Marcus? Charlotte remembered the American. He was the bull in the Zodiac team. Are you talking about that big guy? Is he a big guy? Charlotte recalled Marcus's appearance. He didn't think that Marcus was that big. He just looked a bit stronger than the others. Pu Taiyong said with a smile, that's because he is wearing clothes. Once he takes off his clothes, he is a diamond ape. He is full of muscles. He is the fighting expert in our team. He is best at fighting. He has been running amok in the underground boxing ring in the United States for many years. If it wasn't for his father's prohibition, he would have turned to professional boxing. Dad always calls him Bull. He is also the most reckless one among us. He always causes trouble. Charlotte couldn't help but laugh. Good at fighting and strong as a bull. This was probably the reason why his father, Xia Changhe, used the word bull to describe Marcus. What about Erdemo? Charlotte asked. Pu Taiyong said, he is Mongolian. He is the only one among us who is not an orphan. His family had been hunters for generations, and he was very good at hunting. When I say hunting, I mean hunting people, not small animals. The people he assassinates will not leave any traces at the scene. If Dad wants someone to disappear without a trace, he will usually let him do it. He has never failed. Tigers are the king of beasts. Their ability to hunt can be seen. It was also appropriate for his father, Xia Changhe, to use the word tiger to describe Erdemo. But Charlotte was a little surprised. Erdemo looked ordinary and not special at all. He was the type that can't be found in a crowd. Charlotte didn't expect him to be an assassination expert. I don't need to introduce Yelena, do I? Pu Taiyong said with a smile. She has been by Dad's side for the past 2 years. You have seen her many times. She is best at cleaning up potential threat. Even the CIA's most elite spy can't escape her eyes. I don't know how she does it, but she is good at it. With her, we don't have to worry about being followed or being followed. Charlotte said, well, I know her. She likes to hide information in her chewing gum. By the way, what about the other 5? You haven't seen them yet. I will tell you when they come. That's fine. I don't even know what they look like. It's useless even if you tell me. Charlotte suddenly thought of something. Well, I know Yevgenia is a pig, but she is dead. Dad said someone took over her position. Do you know who it is? Pu Taiyong shrugged. Boss, to be honest, I don't know either. Dad only told us that there is a new member, but he didn't say who it is. But I think we will meet one day. At that time, I will know what a pig is. Charlotte thought that his father, Xia Changhe, was only hiding it from him. He didn't expect that his father didn't even tell the other members of the Zodiac squad. It seemed that this pig was really mysterious. Do-do-do, the satellite phone suddenly rang. After sending Ryu Youngnam away, Charlotte turned off his phone. All the members of the Zodiac squad also used the satellite phone that couldn't be tracked or eavesdrop. Charlotte answered the phone. A woman's voice came from the satellite phone. "Boss, I applied to hack into the Korean Police Department's surveillance system." Charlotte recognized that it was Amanda's voice, but he was also shocked by her. "Why did you hack into the Korean Police Department's surveillance system?" "I am looking for Gu Kyun. I can use facial recognition software to find her. As long as she appears in Korea, I will know her whereabouts," Amanda's voice said. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Let's do it. What kind of people are they?" Chapter 668. The light of dawn dispelled the darkness, and the entire Eastern Hemisphere was awakening. Some people were already prepared to welcome a new day, while others were still immersed in the darkness. And Jin Jian was one of them. He could not walk out of the darkness that enveloped his sky. His opponent's support rate was far higher than his. Based on the current momentum, he would fall in the election arena before the voting results were announced. It was not that he did not have a chance, but his account was being monitored. The God Domain Corporation's funds were also being monitored. He could not use the God Domain Corporation's funds for his election. With the meager amount of funds he had no chance of making a comeback. This was an era where money was everything. Without money, one would not be able to do anything. Having money but not being able to use it, and Jin Jian felt that this was the funniest thing he had encountered in his life. The light of dawn shone in through the window, and Jin Jian sat in front of the window, not moving an inch. The cigarette in his hand had long since been extinguished. A gust of morning wind blew in through the window. Half of the cigarette ash fell from the butt of the cigarette, falling to the ground and shattering. The sound of footsteps came from behind, but Jin Jian did not turn around. A blanket lightly landed on Jin Jian's shoulder. A woman's voice rang out by Jin Jian's ear. "You'll get sick if you continue like this. Let it go. You'll feel much more relaxed after letting it go." "Let it go?" Jin Jian snorted. "Will Xiuxian come back if I let it go? Will my life be complete if I let it go? I, Jin Jian, am not a man who can be defeated so easily." Su Xiuzhen sighed softly. "Yesterday I went to Feng En Temple. Great Master Hui Ming spoke with me for a while. He said that clinging to it is bitter, but letting it go is a blessing. I feel that what he said makes sense. When we were young, we did too many evil things, so our son Xiuxian suffered retribution. It's time to let it go and stop doing wrong things. Otherwise, our son will not have good karma, and we will not have good karma in our next lives. Have you already forgiven the person who killed Xiuxian?" And Jin Jian suddenly turned to look at Su Xiuzhen. Su Xiuzhen was silent for a moment before saying, "Although it's difficult, I no longer have any hatred in my heart." "If he appeared before you, what would you do?" And Jin Jian asked. Su Xiuzhen said, "I would ask him if he felt guilty. I'll ask him if he regrets it. If he still has any hatred in his heart, or any evil creature, I will advise him to let it go." "Ha ha ha, what are you laughing at? My wife is going to become a monk, right? When you become a monk, you must tell me. I will personally help you put on the monk's robe." "It's not funny." Do. The satellite phone on the coffee table suddenly rang, accompanied by vibrations, and kept buzzing. And Jin Jian picked up the satellite phone. "It's me." A man's voice came from the satellite phone. "I'm already here. Where shall we meet?" "I'll wait for you at home." "Did you bring what I wanted?" "Yes, I have. I warn you, you'd better not play any tricks. Even though we're in South Korea, it's still a piece of cake for me to take your life. Before you think about harming me, you'd better think about the things in my hands. They will destroy you." "Humph. I want to kill you, but not now." "Yes, the timing of the killing is very important. You'd better not have any thoughts of killing me in this life, because the moment you have such thoughts, I will kill you first." These were the last words of the other party. After saying that, the other party hung up. And Jin Jian raised the satellite phone up high, but he did not drop it. Su Xiuzhen suddenly said, "Jin Jian? Is it that Charlotte?" And Jin Jian did not admit nor deny it. He remained silent, not saying a word. "It's him, right? It must be him." And Jin Jian suddenly stood up and tore off the blanket that Su Xiuzhen had draped over him. He angrily said to Su Xiuzhen, "So what if it's him? Don't interfere in this matter. Just shut your mouth. In order to become the president of South Korea, you actually collaborated with the devil. Su Hyun's spirit in heaven will not forgive you." Su Xiuzhen turned and left. "Where are you going?" And Jin Jian roared, "Stop right there." Su Xiuzhen turned back to look at Jin Jian with tears in her eyes. "Do you think I'm going to snitch on you? You're my husband. I won't betray you. But I won't stay under the same roof as the person who killed my son. I'm going to live at the Temple of Gratitude for a while. I wish you all the best in becoming the president of South Korea." After Su Xiuzhen left, Jin Jian was left alone in the room. A minute later, Jin Jian picked up his other phone and dialed a number. After the call connected, he said, "Minghu, send 2 people to stop Madam and send her to my villa in Jeju Island. Without my orders, no one is to let her leave." The voice of the housekeeper, Chui Minghu, came from the phone. "I understand. I'll do it right away. Also, get everyone to come to my place. There will be guests coming to our house soon." "Should I bring them?" "Yes. Even if I don't use them, I have to let them see my current strength." "I understand. I'll do it right away." Chui Minghu hung up the phone. The room fell into silence again. And Jin Jian looked at the rising sun outside the window without any expression on his face. After standing there quietly for a while, he left his room and went to the living room to wait for the arrival of that person. 2 stern-looking Caucasian bodyguards stood at the door of the living room. They respectfully lowered their heads to greet Jin Jian. They were retired Special Forces soldiers from the United States Navy SEALs. They had been through hundreds of battles and had received professional bodyguard training. They could fight 1 against 10 and had all the qualities that a professional bodyguard should have. It wasn't just these 2. Ever since Xiuxian's death, Jin Jian had spent a lot of money to rebuild his bodyguard team. Now, other than a large group of bodyguards from South Korea, he had also hired 10 elite bodyguards from all over the world. These people included Special Forces soldiers from the United States Navy SEALs, veterans from the French Foreign Legion, and former secret agents from Russia. His original intention of forming this team was to take revenge on that person. Now, even if he didn't take revenge, he had to show that person his strength so that that person wouldn't dare to have any thoughts of threatening him. That person was Charlotte. Charlotte hadn't arrived yet, but the atmosphere was already tense. And Jin Jian came to the door of the living room and looked in the direction of the door, waiting for the moment Charlotte would appear. 5 minutes later, Chui Minghu appeared in Jin Jian's field of vision. Chui Minghu jogged along, looking flustered. Just as he was about to reach Jin Jian, who knew if it was because he was too slippery or because Chui Minghu was too flustered, he fell to the ground like a hungry dog pouncing on its prey. And Jin Jian immediately frowned. "Why are you flustered? Old master." Chui Minghu couldn't be bothered to get up from the ground. "Something's happened." "What happened?" And Jin Jian's expression instantly turned serious. Our people." Chui Minghu got up from the ground and said, "Our people have all been taken down." And Jin Jian was shocked, and he also became nervous. His eyes quickly swept over every place he could see, but other than trees and buildings, he didn't see anything. Not to mention Charlotte or Charlotte's people. He didn't even see a single one of his own people. Suddenly, the Inn Manor, which occupied hundreds of acres of land, fell into a strange silence. It felt like a cemetery at dusk. "Old master, let's call the police," Cui Minghu said. And Jin Jian suddenly went up and slapped Cui Minghu's face. He roared, "Bastard! I raised a bunch of trash like you, thinking of calling the police every time something happens. If the police were useful, why would I need you guys?" Cui Minghu covered his face, not daring to say a word. And Jin Jian suddenly turned to the 2 American bodyguards who were guarding him with nervous expressions and roared, "What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and find him for me." The 2 American bodyguards looked at each other but didn't immediately take action. At this time, their main task wasn't to catch the person who sneak attacked them, but to protect Jin Jian. Protecting their employer was a bodyguard's duty, but Jin Jian gave them the wrong order. "Old master, you can't have no one to protect you. I'll go." Before he could finish his sentence, Cui Minghu suddenly fell forward and heavily fell to the ground. There was a tranquilizer dart stuck in Cui Minghu's back. It was a special tranquilizer dart that wasn't shot with a gun, but with a primitive blowpipe. The person who sneak attacked them was nearby, but no one had discovered him. The 2 American bodyguards suddenly pulled out their guns and protected Jin Jian in the middle, one on the left and one on the right. The 2 American bodyguards were clearly very experienced. After protecting Jin Jian, the first thing they did was raise their guns and aim at the roof. Their line of sight also quickly searched for any place where the sneak attacker could be hidden. But before their search lasted for 5 seconds, 2 tranquilizer darts suddenly flew over from a tree to the side and pierced the necks of the 2 bodyguards. The 2 tranquilizer darts were clearly shot from the same blowpipe. The interval between the darts was only 0.5 seconds, and the speed at which they were shot was extremely fast. 1 second later, the 2 American bodyguards with bodies as big as polar bears also fell to the ground. 1 second later, the entire residence was silent. Jin Jian became the only person in the entire residence awake. His forehead and back were covered in cold sweat. A few minutes ago, he was still thinking of showing off his martial prowess to Charlotte, but now he suddenly realized that the martial prowess he was so proud of was like a Boy Scout in a summer camp in Charlotte's eyes. Just as Jin Jian was squatting on the ground, still in a state of shock, a Chinese kid jumped down from a banyan tree. In his hand was a green metal tube, and in his other hand was an unloaded tranquilizer dart. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were terrifyingly cold. This person, he was Charlotte's vanguard, the tiger of the Zodiac Squad, Erdemo. A blonde woman appeared from the bamboo forest. She walked toward Jin Jian, and as she walked, she spoke into a walkie-talkie in her hand. "It's been cleaned up. You can come over and talk to him now. I promise it's very quiet here." And Jin Jian was dumbfounded. That kid created such a big scene just to have a quiet environment to talk? Too much. Chapter 669. The person in question hadn't shown himself, but his subordinates had taken down all of Jin Jian's subordinates. This was truly too much. But other than anger, Jin Jian also felt a deep fear. Jin Jian couldn't believe that Charlotte's strength had reached such a level. But he couldn't do anything about it. His subordinates were still lying on the ground, none of them able to move. He could imagine that if Charlotte had wanted his life, he would already be a corpse. The door opened and a young man slowly walked in. Jin Jian's gaze locked onto that young man, and a hint of hatred flashed in his eyes. He would recognize this young man even if he turned into ashes, because this young man was the one who had killed his son, Charlotte. Before coming to Korea, Charlotte had worn a human skin mask because he didn't want anyone to see his face in Korea. But when he saw Jin Jian, he took off the human skin mask again, revealing his original face. But this wasn't because he wanted to show off his current strength, but because he wanted to smoothly complete his negotiations with Jin Jian. "Mr. N, we meet again." Xia Lei walked in front of Jin Jian. He had a faint smile on his face, giving people the feeling that he was meeting an old friend. What's the meaning of this? And Jin Jian stood up, his face full of anger. What are you trying to do? Charlotte said indifferently, Mr. N, don't be nervous. I'm just trying to ensure my own safety. I don't want to send you money, only to have you ambush me with assassins, waiting to take my life. Since you don't believe me, why are you working with me? And Jin Jian asked angrily. Charlotte said, for benefits. People can do anything for benefits, right? You've really gone too far this time. Charlotte said indifferently, don't bother with such a small matter. I've brought you everything you need. 100 million USD isn't a small sum. Don't you even have a word of thanks or welcome? What Jin Jian really wanted to say was, go to hell, but he wouldn't say such words. After venting for a while, his mood also stabilized. A smile appeared on his face. All right, please take a seat in the living room. Erdemo and Yelena stayed at the door while Charlotte followed Jin Jian in. And Jin Jian was just about to ask why the master thief wasn't here when he saw that there was another woman in the living room. The woman was very young, tall, and had long black hair. Her facial features were exquisite and beautiful. She was wearing a tight miniskirt, and her buttocks were wrapped round, which was very sexy. The only fly in the ointment was that her chest was a little flat, giving off a feeling of underdevelopment. The woman was holding a vase. When Jin Jian and Charlotte walked in, she put down the vase in her hands and turned around to look at Charlotte and Jin Jian. You. And Jin Jian's face was filled with suspicion and wariness. Charlotte smiled and said, she is the godly thief you want, Qin Wu. Qin Wu. And Jin Jian said, that's a man's name. I know the godly thief by your side is a man, but the one you brought me is a woman. Mr. N, do you want to touch it? The woman suddenly spoke. When she spoke, Jin Jian immediately revealed an expression as if he had seen a ghost. This was because he had heard a man's voice. This woman was Qin Xiang. Qin Wu was a fake name that Xiao Lei had given him. This was also for the purpose of protecting him. Charlotte said, I've brought the people and money. We can begin. Give me the money and leave your people behind. You can go, Jin Jian said. Charlotte was stunned for a moment before he suddenly laughed. Mr. N, are you joking with me, or do you think I'm an idiot? Then how do you want to trade? Jin Jian sneered. Don't tell me you expect me to sign something? Charlotte said, 100 million US dollars isn't a small sum. I'll give you so much money. Aren't you going to give me something as collateral? Qin Wu is my good brother. Now that he's working for you, shouldn't you give me a guarantee? What kind of guarantee do you want? What kind of guarantee? I've already prepared it for you. Charlotte opened the briefcase in his hands and took out a thick stack of documents. Jin Jian sneered. You've really prepared it. What kind of document do you want me to sign? God Domain Corporation has some assets in China. My accountant has estimated that they're worth about 600 million renminbi. That's about 100 million US dollars. Give them to me as collateral. That way, I won't be afraid of you stealing my money. That's fair, isn't it? I think you're the one joking. God Domain Corporation's assets in China are worth 2 billion renminbi. That's about 300 million US dollars. You're giving me 100 million US dollars, yet you want me to give you the God Domain Corporation's assets in China as collateral? Charlotte said, Mr. N, if you take a 1,000 renminbi watch to a pawnshop as collateral, will the pawnshop give you 1,000 renminbi? What I want is a mortgage. I don't really want your assets. After the election, you'll be the president of South Korea, who will still monitor your bank account. You can return my money to me at any time, and I'll also return the things you've mortgaged to me. I won't even charge you interest. What else do you want? At this moment, Qin Xiang interrupted. One must be content with what they have and know what's good for them. We didn't come all the way from China to help you to earn your money. If you set up any more obstacles, I won't help you anymore. And Jin Jian hesitated for a moment before finally nodding. All right, I'll sign it. I'll give you the God Domain Corporation's assets in China as collateral. I'll return you $100 million after this, and you'll return those assets to me. Let me see them. Charlotte handed a stack of documents to Jin Jian, and Jin Jian sat on the sofa and flipped through them. 10 minutes later, he suddenly held up a document that wasn't a collateral and asked sternly, "What's this?" It was a letter of commitment that Charlotte had specially prepared for Jin Jian. On it were a few things that Charlotte wanted Jin Jian to do. Those things were also things that Fan Fan needed to resolve. And Jin Jian suddenly threw the letter of commitment on the coffee table and angrily said, "You provided me with some help, yet you want me to do so many things for you? You're simply too much." Charlotte said, "There are some things that you don't need to do after you become the president. You're the leader of the great national party, so you can use the power of the great national party in parliament to settle these things now. You don't need to wait until you become the president to do it. If you're smart, your current partner's promise to me will be better than your promise to me in the future. I can also give you a promise. As long as you resolve these problems, I won't threaten you in the future. I'll return all the things in my hands to you. Do you think I'll believe you?" And Jin Jian glared at him coldly. Charlotte laughed. "I think you still haven't figured out the situation. Am I begging you to make a deal with me? You can completely refuse. But you have to think clearly if you reject me. If you refuse me, the things in my hands will appear on the desks of your opponents. I think your opponents won't hesitate to publicize it, right? At that time, not only will you lose the right to run for president and lose control of the great national party, but you'll also face charges and spend the rest of your life in prison. I hold everything you have in my hands, yet you still dare to discuss conditions with me?" And Jin Jian looked hesitant. He clearly knew that he didn't have any other choice, but he really didn't dare to trust Charlotte. "Forget it. Let's go." Charlotte waved his hand and turned to leave, saying, "In a bit, go give those things to Pu Suzhen. I think some people are better off in prison." "No problem," Qin Xiang said. "Wait." And Jin Jian clenched his teeth and said, "I'll sign it." Charlotte turned around and said with a smile, "Isn't that enough? It'd be better to just sign it. You don't have to make it so unpleasant." And Jin Jian took out a Parker gold pen and nimbly signed several of the mortgage documents. Then, he picked up the pen and prepared to sign the letter of commitment. But at this moment Charlotte called out to him. "Wait." Charlotte said, "Read that letter of commitment in front of me in Korean." And Jin Jian looked at Charlotte. Only now did he realize that there was a cell phone in Charlotte's hand, and that cell phone's camera seemed to be turned on. He suddenly understood something and immediately became angry. "You actually want to record it?" Charlotte said, "It's just to add a bit of insurance. Don't worry. After you do the things on the letter of commitment, I'll give this cell phone to me. I swear I won't make a copy." Would he make a copy? Even he didn't know the answer to this question. Once Jin Jian became the president of South Korea, all of South Korea's troops and special agents would listen to his orders. At that time, if Jin Jian wanted to take revenge on him, it would be a very easy thing to do because he could eliminate South Korea's most elite special forces and special agents to do it. But if he had something in his hands that could send Jin Jian to hell, would Jin Jian still dare to act blindly without thinking? So, saying that he wouldn't make a copy was a lie. And Jin Jian was very clear on this point, but he had no other choice. He braced himself and read out the contents of the letter of commitment in Korean. Finally, he signed it. Charlotte put away the mortgage documents and the letter of commitment. Then, he extended his hand to Jin Jian and said with a smile, "Mr. President, it's a pleasure working with you." And Jin Jian didn't even extend his hand. He just coldly looked at Charlotte. I'll honor my promise and you'd better honor yours. Otherwise, I'll take you down with me. Charlotte said, actually, there's a very simple way to solve the problem between us, and that is to become friends and not enemies. I, Charlotte, will never betray my friends. Not once in the past, and not ever in the future. You just have to be friends with me and work with me. It will be beneficial for both of us. But if you want to take revenge on me, then bring it on. You saw what happened just now. If I want to kill you, it's actually a very simple matter. You killed my son, but you still want to be friends with me? Can't you have another child? Your wife can't, but other women can't? Technology is so advanced now. If you want a son, it shouldn't be a problem, right? If it's not convenient for you in South Korea, you can come to China. I'll help you settle this matter. Charlotte looked very serious and concerned. What kind of woman do you like? And Jin Jian was speechless. He suddenly felt that if he had a fated nemesis in this life, it wouldn't be anyone else but this China kid in front of him. Chapter 670. When Charlotte walked out of the inn mansion, the 7 members of the Zodiac team also left the inn mansion. It wasn't just Erdemo who made a move. The 7 members brought by Charlotte had also made a move. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to take down all of Enchantment's men. This operation not only allowed Charlotte to see the terrifying power of the Zodiac team, but he also understood that it wasn't by chance or luck that his father, Xia Changhe, could survive the double pursuit of the FA organization and the CIA, but it was his strength. Coming out of the inn mansion, everyone, including Charlotte, put on a human skin mask and became another person with another identity. The technology of the human skin mask was originally taught to Charlotte by his father, Xia Changhe. It came from the Zodiac team, so it had long become a necessary item for the Zodiac team to carry out missions. Qin Xiang stayed in the inn mansion. According to the agreement between Jin Jian and Charlotte, he had to help Jin Jian steal some of Pu Xiuzhen's dirty things. Once those things were in his hands, Jin Jian could give Pu Xiuzhen a fatal blow. This was the so-called liberal politic. Not all the people elected by the voters were clean, and some of them couldn't even be considered honest. An hour later, Charlotte arrived at Pu Taiyong's nest in South Korea. It was a dilapidated old building in the slums of Seoul. It only had 2 floors. The upper floor was inhabited and the lower floor was a garage. There was also a basement, which naturally became the command center of this operation in South Korea. We still have 30 hours. In the basement, Charlotte said, during this time we have to find Gu Qian and kill her. If we don't accomplish this goal in 30 hours, we will leave South Korea. 30 hours later, if Charlotte still hadn't appeared in China, the German delegation would have already appeared at the Le Ma military factory. At that time, Ryu Youngnam couldn't pretend anymore. For this operation, Charlotte didn't even bother with 101 innings, let alone letting the ZN Bureau know. If Ling Hao found out that the Charlotte in the Sichuan branch was Ryu Youngnam, he would not be able to explain to Ling Hao where he had been and what he had done in the past 2 days. He really wanted to kill Gu Qian, but if he couldn't do it within 30 hours, he would retreat. He had 2 goals in this trip to South Korea. One was to make a deal with Jin Jian, and the other was to kill Gu Qian. Therefore, even if he couldn't kill Gu Qian and had to leave South Korea, he could accept this outcome. Give me 2 more hours and I'll find Gu Qian, Amanda said. Her computer was always working. However, it is not easy to find a person in such a big country like South Korea. Erdemo said, let's do something too. Marcus pried open a wooden box with a hammer. The box contained a few guns, an XL 2500 sniper rifle and a Gale assault rifle. The jet-black guns glowed coldly under the light. Marcus whistled and grabbed a Gale assault rifle. Boss, is this the world's most advanced Gale assault rifle? I've wanted one for a long time. I've told my dad several times, but he wouldn't agree. Charlotte said with a smile. One Gale assault rifle and one XL 2500 sniper rifle each. In the future, when the Thunder Horse military factory has the most advanced weapons and equipment, we will be the first to equip ourselves. Boss, can I have an armored vehicle? Alessio said with a smile. Charlotte shrugged. Do you want the Italian traffic police to trouble you? The basement was filled with laughter. The members of the Zodiac squad chatted and laughed as they prepared for battle. They checked their guns, prepared ammunition, and other equipment. Charlotte also got to know these people through their chats and built relationships with them. He wanted to lead this team, and the first thing he had to do was to integrate into the team. 2 hours later, Amanda suddenly said, I found her. Charlotte followed. The other members of the Zodiac squad also came over. Amanda had indeed found Gu Qian. This should be something to be happy about, but no one smiled. No one even said a word. Because Gu Qian was not in a hotel, but in the Yongsan base of the U.S. military base in South Korea. There are more than 2,000 soldiers of the 8th Army and more than 700 aviation soldiers in the Yongsan base, as well as more than 200 special forces of the Marine Corps, for a total force of more than 3,000 people. Amanda said. Xia Lei's eyebrows furrowed. If Gu Qian was in a hotel, then the operation to kill Gu Qian would not be too complicated. But he did not expect Gu Qian to hide in the U.S. military base in South Korea. How could it be easy to assassinate a senior CIA official in a U.S. military base? The eyes of the members of the Zodiac squad were focused on Charlotte. Entering the Yongsan base to assassinate Gu Qian was undoubtedly a suicidal operation. But once Charlotte made the decision, they would still go. Although they came from all over the world, they valued the honor of the Zodiac squad more than their own lives. Boss, if you want to assassinate Gu Qian in the Yongsan base, I'll make a plan now, Amanda said. Charlotte said, What's your plan? We can disguise ourselves as U.S. soldiers. U.S. soldiers come in all colors. In addition, we need some fake IDs, and then we can insert our fake identity information into the security system of the Yongsan base. Then we can enter the base wearing U.S. military uniforms, Amanda said. Charlotte thought for a moment and shook his head. It's not difficult to sneak in. The difficult part is not being seen through by the CIA agents, and we have to face the problem of retreat after killing Gu Qian. What's more, this time Gu Qian came to South Korea with not only the CIA, but also the FA organization. Yelena said, she must be in South Korea. Alessio said, she's also in South Korea? That's great, we can kill her as well. The first person father killed was Yamasa. This is the best gift for father to wash his hands in a golden basin. I agree with Alessio's idea, Bagu said. Let's do it, boss, Pu Taiyong said. These people were not afraid of death. Even the U.S. military base couldn't stop their determination to carry out the mission. But Charlotte couldn't let them die for nothing. He was silent for a moment before saying, Let me think. Charlotte entered a state of thinking. His brain made assumptions based on some of the resources he had at hand, and even simulated the progress of the mission to get the results of those assumptions. In the eyes of others, he was just thinking in silence, and there was nothing special about him. Boss, can you do it? Bagu whispered. Amanda has always been the one designing the plan. She's undoubtedly the smartest one among us, and she's also good at it. I don't know. I don't know much about him, Alessio said. Yelena, you should know him very well. Aren't you going to say something? Bagu asked Yelena. Don't argue. Yelena lowered her voice. Boss is an extremely smart person. Look at the weapons in your hands. They were all designed by him. If he can design the most advanced weapons in the world, why can't he design a plan? The Zodiac team members immediately shut their mouth. They didn't have an accurate idea of how smart Xia Lei was, but they knew how outstanding the weapons in their hands were. Suddenly, Charlotte said, Pu Taiyong, find me a local phone. I need to make a call. Pu Taiyong was stunned. Boss, who are you calling? Charlotte said, just give it to me. Then he said to Amanda, get ready to help me with something. Amanda didn't know what Charlotte wanted her to do, but she nodded. No problem. At the same time, Seoul's Yongsan base. Cold water poured down from the showerhead, splashing onto Gu Qiuan's head. The water flowed down her cheeks and down her skin. Her breasts were still as full and firm as before, standing tall in the midst of the water flow. There was a striking scar on the left side of her chest. This scar had been given to her by Long Bing. If her heart hadn't been born a little crooked, she would be lying in a grave right now, not standing here bathing. A simple cosmetic surgery could remove this scar, but she didn't want to do that. She wanted to keep this scar as a constant reminder of herself. Charlotte, Charlotte. Gu Qiuan closed her eyes. Her throat kept calling out Charlotte's name with hatred and some strange emotions. Her hands stopped in one place, making rhythmic movements. She was excited and trembling. Ring ring ring, ring ring ring, outside the door, a phone rang. Gu Qiuan stopped what she was doing, but she didn't immediately go out to answer the phone. She looked angrily in the direction of the bathroom, guessing who would call her at this time. There weren't many people who knew her number. Ding ling ling, ding ling ling. Damn it! Gu Qiuan turned off the showerhead, wrapped herself in a towel, and walked out. The phone was still ringing on the table. Gu Qiuan grabbed the phone and looked at it. The number on the display was from China, but it looked obviously different from the numbers provided by the major China operators. Gu Qiuan swiped the answer button. Hello, who is it? A man's voice came from the phone. Gu Qiuan, didn't you say you wanted to meet me? Where are you? It's you. Gu Qiuan was stunned for a moment, then suddenly walked to the door. As she walked, she said, Why? Do you want to meet me that badly? We have to settle the score between us. Tell me the time and place. I'll come from China to meet you. You're in China. Gu Qiuan opened the door. Behind the door was another room. There were several CIB agents in the room. Not only were there heavily armed combatants, but there were also technicians waiting by the computer. Of course I'm in China. Where are you? I'm in Japan. Gu Qiuan said as she gestured to the CIB technicians to track the phone number she was talking to. The CIB technicians quickly got into work. Chapter 671. You said you want to meet me. What do you want? Gu Qiuan laughed coldly. Do you really want to kill me that badly? Why would I want to kill you? I just want my father's things back. The man's voice came from the phone. Name a price. You can't afford the price I want. That's not necessarily true. Then tell me, what can you give me? You don't want money. You don't lack money. How about this? I think the Americans are also interested in my Thunder Dragon intelligent lathe. I'm willing to trade it for you. Gu Qiuan was moved. The Thunder Dragon intelligent lathe was the heart of Thunder Horse military factory. The Germans were racking their brains to get it, so how could the Americans not be moved? If she could get a Thunder Dragon intelligent lathe, then her position in the CIA would definitely be higher than it was now. How about it? Are you willing to trade with me? Your Thunder Dragon intelligent lathe weighs a few dozen tons, right? Charlotte, how are you going to give it to me? Gu Qiuan was not blinded by the tempting offer. The CIA technicians suddenly gestured at Gu Qiuan, and one of them even mouthed to her, The target is in Seoul, South Korea. The target was, of course, Charlotte. Gu Qiuan had thought it was strange earlier. The number of the call was not from one of the three major operators in China, but the location of the call was from China. Now it seemed that not only was Charlotte in South Korea, he had deliberately changed the location of the number. Charlotte's voice came from the phone again. Do you think I'm lying to you? Then you're wrong. I have enough sincerity this time. Since I've brought it up, I have a way to solve the problem. Okay, give me half a day. I'll think about it carefully. Gu Qian hung up after speaking. The CIA agents stared at Gu Qian, waiting for her instructions. Gu Qian's gaze moved to a monitor. There was a satellite map on the monitor, and there was a flashing red dot on the map. That red dot represented Charlotte. Just then, the red dot suddenly disappeared. What happened? Gu Qian was a little anxious. A CIA technician said, "Maybe the target removed the battery from the phone. But it doesn't matter. We already know his exact location and can take action at any time." "Then what are we waiting for? Act now." Gu Qian gave the order and turned to walk into the house. Suddenly, the doorknob caught the towel on her body, and she pulled it off with a crash. Full and firm breasts, flat and smooth lower abdomen, perfectly round and perky buttocks, and an exaggeratedly dense forest. These beautiful scenes appeared silently, and the few CIB agents were stunned. What was even more embarrassing was that the crotch area of the two field agents was clearly bulging. Other people would think that there was a pistol or ham sausage hidden inside. Bastard! Gu Qian grabbed the towel and used it as a shield. Then, she yelled at the CIA agents, "What are you still standing there for? Get moving! Tell our men to seal off that area immediately." A CIA technician immediately grabbed a CIA internal communicator to relay Gu Qian's instructions. The rest of them quickly walked to the door, but before the person in front could open it, Gu Qian's voice came from behind them. "Wait!" The field agents all turned to look at Gu Qian. What stunned them was that Gu Qian did not even have time to turn around when she spoke. Her large white buttocks were facing them without any concealment. Eastern women's buttocks were softer and softer than Western women's. This was the first thought that came to their minds at almost the same time. Gu Qian hurriedly turned around, and the towel finally did its job. However, with so much of her snow-white skin exposed to the air, she was still as sexy as ever. "Boss, do you have any other orders?" a field agent asked. "Something's wrong," Gu Qian said. "Something's wrong." The agent who asked the question was stunned. "Boss, what's wrong?" Gu Qian's lips moved. She was about to say something, but suddenly changed her mind. "Nothing. Immediately take our men to search that area. Inform the Korean police and have them help seal off that area. I'll be there soon. Report to me if there's anything." The agents left the room. Gu Qian closed the door, took out a satellite phone from her briefcase, and dialed a number. "He's here," Gu Qian said when the call connected. "He's in Korea. He just called me. My men tracked his number and locked onto the area he's in." A woman's voice came from the satellite phone. "Where is he?" "He's in a slum area." "How did you do it?" "I've already sent my men out. They'll search that area. They'll ask the Korean police to intervene and help them catch him." "You're personally leading the team?" Gu Qian was silent for a moment before saying, "No. I personally led the team. I wanted to lead the team myself, but I felt that something was wrong." "What do you think is wrong?" "I can't say for sure," Gu Qian said. "But Charlotte is an extremely smart person. The CIA has lost so many people and still couldn't catch him. Would he come to me personally to let me catch him? He had tampered with the caller ID, but he had left a very obvious flaw. That number was a Korean number. I could tell at a glance. Would he make such a low-level mistake?" "You mean he deliberately exposed his location to lure you to catch him?" "Yes. I caused him to divorce Shintu Tianyin. Plus, I sent him the FA organization's secret document. He must want my life now." "If that's the case, then he must be at that place," a woman's voice said. "What do you want to do?" "Get ready. Leave the Yongshan military base in 5 minutes. I'll come and get you." With that, the woman hung up, not giving Gu Qian any time to think. Her words were an order. Gu Qian threw the satellite phone on the bed and spat. "Bitch. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Charlotte wants to kill me. If I don't show up, he won't show up either. You're coming to get me so you can use me as bait to lure Charlotte out? I, Gu Qin, am not someone you can manipulate however you want. The bitch she was talking about was none other than the FA organization's ace assassin, Dark Mona. She could scold as much as she wanted here, but in front of Dark Mona, she would be more obedient than anyone else. People had to lower their heads when they were under someone else's roof. Dark Mona controlled everything about her, including her life. She had to obey Dark Mona's orders. But she believed that she wouldn't be like this forever. Once her wings had hardened, she would take Dark Mona's life. Gu Qin tore off the towel on her body and walked to a desk phone. She picked it up and dialed a short number, then said, "Colonel Ryan, I'm Gu Qin, the CIA's Asia Director. My security code is GKW 95989. I'm going to activate Operation Harpoon now. Please carry it out immediately." A man's voice came from the phone. "What's the password to activate the mission?" FG00932135. Miss Gu, the password is correct. My men will listen to your orders. Gu Qin said, "Gather all the Marine Corps soldiers in the military base immediately. Bring weapons, ammunition, communication equipment, and listen to my orders. I'll give you 4 minutes." After ending the call, Gu Qin tore off the towel on her body and put on her clothes without even bothering to wipe off the water. A minute later, she left the room. She made a call on the satellite phone as she walked. Damn it, someone notified the headquarters. The headquarters has already activated Operation Harpoon. It's a plan to target Charlotte. The entire Marine Corps in the Longshan military base will be mobilized. I've been appointed as the commander of the operation. I have no choice but to take those F*King Marine Corps soldiers to catch Charlotte. Give me his exact location and report your progress to me. It was Dark Mona's voice. I got it. Don't worry. Even if we catch Charlotte, he's still yours. I promise you that. With that, Gu Qin hung up the phone. In a village next to the Longshan military base, a tall woman put down the satellite phone in her hand. She was Dark Mona, who had just ended the call with Gu Qin. Dark Mona raised the binoculars in her hand and looked at the entrance of the Longshan military base. Although there was no movement there yet, the sound of an alarm came from inside the base. The Marine Corps soldiers were gathering. A blond man appeared behind Dark Mona. "Boss, we've received a screenshot of the satellite location from Gu Qin. Charlotte is in a slum area west of Seoul. The terrain there is very complicated. The CIA people are on their way there. The Korean police have already started to set up a blockade in that area. If Charlotte is there, he won't be able to escape this time. What should we do?" Dark Mona didn't speak. She continued to look in the direction of the Longshan military base with her binoculars. At that moment, a Humvee drove out of the gate. Behind it was a long line of Humvees. Every Hummer was equipped with a heavy machine gun, and there were 5 fully armed Marine soldiers in front of it. There was a deafening roar. Several military helicopters and transport helicopters took off and flew towards the west of Seoul. Dark Mona raised her head and quickly saw Gu Qin sitting on one of the military helicopters. She only saw it once before the military helicopter flew away in the blink of an eye. A cold smile appeared on Dark Mona's lips. She muttered to herself, "You don't want to be the bait? But you've always been the bait. You want to get rid of me? Only if you die." The blond man said again, "Boss, the CIA and the Marine Corps are on the move." Dark Mona interrupted him. "Tell our people to get ready to move out. Operation Earthworm has begun." "Yes," the blond man replied. He turned and entered the courtyard of a farmhouse. The courtyard was quiet. There was only a cat lying on the ground, basking in the sun. But after the blond man whistled, the doors of several rooms opened at the same time. One by one, the FA organization agents walked out of the rooms. Almost every one of them was carrying a military canvas bag. There was nothing in the bags other than weapons and ammunition. Although there weren't many of them gathered together, only 20 of them, they were all elite agents who could fight 1 against 10. Their combined combat power was enough to fight a tough battle with the Marine Corps stationed in the Longshan military base. Dark Mona appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. She just waved her hand and everyone followed her. Chapter 672. This ghetto was only separated from the bustling Gangnam district by a 6-lane highway, and about 20,000 people lived there. On one side were skyscrapers and a world of the rich. On the other side were low-rise shacks, cobweb-like wires, and potholes on the ground. A 6-lane highway also became the dividing line between heaven and hell. Now, this dividing line had been blocked by the Korean police. No vehicles drove in, and the entire road was empty except for police cars and CIB special service vehicles. Not only the 6-lane highway, but all the roads and exits surrounding the ghetto were blocked. Anyone who wanted to enter the ghetto had to be questioned and inspected by the Korean police, and the people who came out of the ghetto had to undergo even more stringent questioning and identity check. Armed helicopters flew across the sky from time to time. Their mission was to snipe suspicious vehicles and provide fire support for the combatants on the ground. A large net had been formed in the sky and on the ground, and the target in the net had no way to escape. A transport helicopter landed on the 6-lane highway. Gu Qian walked out of the transport helicopter under the cover of a few Marine Special Forces, and then got into a CIB field vehicle. This vehicle had equipment to receive satellite surveillance signals, as well as communication devices. Through these devices, Gu Qian could control the entire situation from inside the vehicle. But she was more concerned about the fact that this field command vehicle was far away from the battlefield and could keep her safe. As soon as Gu Qian got into the vehicle, a CIB technician activated a monitor. The image on the monitor was transmitted through a camera mounted on a tactical helmet, and it was a bit shaky. In the shaky image, more than 20 CIB field agents covered each other as they quickly passed through a dilapidated street and surrounded a small dilapidated building. That small building was the location of Charlotte that the CIB had previously tracked. The voice of the leading CIB field agent came from the communicator. "We are close to the target location, requesting orders." Gu Qian grabbed the communicator and said coldly, "Arrest everyone in that building. If anyone resists, shoot them on the spot." "Roger." The CIB field agent made a few hand signals. More than 20 CIB field agents quietly surrounded the small building. Some people stood at the door, some stood by the windows, and some squatted on the ground, aiming their guns at the door, the windows, and upstairs. A CIB field agent came to the door with a doorbreaker. Without any hesitation, he swung the doorbreaker and broke open the closed door. "Xiaolei, if you're in there, you're dead meat." Gu Qian's lips curled into a sneer. Would Charlotte be in that building? Gu Qian thought to himself that Charlotte did not run away. He was still in that small building. That way, she could easily solve the problem. However, despite her desire, she was still very doubtful about it. Charlotte was an extremely intelligent person who was even more cunning than a fox. Why would he stay in that small building and wait for someone to catch him? Bang, bang, bang. Just as Gu Qian was pondering whether Xiaolei was in the building or not, a gunshot suddenly rang out from inside the building. The CIB field agents surrounding the small building immediately retaliated, and the sound of gunfire filled the air. A dense barrage of bullets entered the small building from the door and windows. Shards of glass, wood, and bricks flew everywhere. "He's really in there." Gu Qian suddenly became excited. The CIB field agents surrounding the small building stopped firing. The field agent captain guarding the front door threw a stun grenade into the small building. After the strong light flashed, he was the first to rush into the building. Behind him, a few CIB field agents followed closely. The image on the monitor was disrupted by the smoke from the stun grenade, and it was not very clear. Gu Qiuan's heart was also in her throat. She longed for Xia Lei to suddenly appear in the picture, and look panicked and lost. Unfortunately, that scene did not appear. More CIB field agents rushed into the building. They kicked down every door and searched every room in the building. Bang! The CIB field agent captain kicked open a door upstairs. A cat suddenly jumped up from the ground and fled to the window in panic. Tut tut tut! Instinctively, the CIB field agent captain raised his gun and fired a clip of bullet. The cat's body was hit in the air, and the impact of the bullets sent its body flying out of the window. Its blood splattered on the wall and broken glass, like cherry blossoms blooming in the smoke. It was heartbreakingly beautiful. The CIB field agent captain's eyes stopped at a corner of the room. The camera mounted on his tactical helmet also transmitted the image he saw to the field command vehicle. A large sound system appeared on the screen of the monitor. The stereo was on, and there was an A4 paper on it with the words, "CIB is an idiot. Gu Qiuan is an idiot." Bang bang bang! Gunshots suddenly came from the stereo. It turned out that the gunshots that made the CIB field agents tense up came from this stereo. When Gu Qiuan saw the words, "Gu Qiuan is an idiot," she was not angry but laughed. "This guy, you'll only know if I'm an idiot if you try. Do you dare to try? Coward!" A CIB technician suddenly said excitedly, "Boss, the signal that disappeared before appeared again." Gu Qiuan moved closer as well. On the computer monitor that the technician was working on, a flashing red dot appeared and it was moving quickly. But its location was not in the ghetto, but on the outskirts of the ghetto, fleeing towards the bustling Jiangnan district. "Boss, we should inform our armed helicopters to chase after it. He can't escape," the CIB technician reminded Gu Qiuan. "Wait, let's confirm the situation first." While speaking, Gu Qiuan pointed a button at the monitor. At the same time, on the outskirts of the ghetto, inside a black Toyota business car. "Boss, Gu Qiuan sent us the satellite positioning image. The target appeared again and is fleeing towards Jiangnan district." Yamosa's eyes moved to the monitor of a special laptop. Sure enough, a flashing red dot was quickly fleeing towards Jiangnan district. The little red dot represented Charlotte, but through the video of the CIB field agents sent by Gu Qiuan using a pinhole camera, she now suspected that this was still a trick played by Charlotte. "Boss, Gu Qiuan didn't let the armed helicopters chase after him. He is buying time for us. What should we do?" The technician from the FA organization asked. Yamosa thought for a moment and then named 2 people. "You guys go after him and see. Don't act rashly. Even if you confirm that the target is Charlotte, don't act rashly and report to me immediately." 2 freelance agents from the FA organization got out of the car and chased after him on their motorcycles. The technicians from the FA organization in the Toyota business car provided them with position support. 2 minutes later, the 2 armed helicopters flew in the same direction. On the ground, Humvees drove in the direction of Jiangnan district. The Marines from the Yongsan military base also participated in the arrest. Gu Qiuan was able to buy 2 minutes for the FA organization, which was the best she could do. Whether it was the CIB's field command vehicle or the FA's Toyota commercial vehicle, the little red dot suddenly stopped after running for a while in the positioning image provided by the U.S. military spy satellite. As soon as the red dot stopped, the 2 armed helicopters also hovered in the sky. On the monitor of the special laptop operated by the technician from the FA organization, 2 professional agents from the FA organization also appeared the pictures sent back. A young Korean man with permed blonde hair was standing on the side of the road, peeing, and behind him was a broken motorcycle. The armed helicopters in the sky obviously scared him, so much so that most of the liquid that flowed from the water gun poured on his pants. "Drop your weapon!" Someone on the helicopter shouted through a loudspeaker. I have no weapon," the young man with blonde hair shouted. Put your hands on your head and kneel on the ground. Bastard. Someone paid me to ride this motorcycle. I don't know anything. The young man with blonde hair suddenly ran. Bang. With a gunshot, the young man with blonde hair was shot to the ground by a sniper. The sniper didn't take his life, but he took one of his legs. A long line of Humvees also appeared in the picture. The two freelance agents from the FA organization turned back. In the Toyota business car, Yamosa slammed her fist on the door, and a muffled bang sounded. Damn it. He played us and the CIB at the same time. What does he want to do? This punch suddenly reminded her of something, and she calmed down in the blink of an eye. She grabbed a communicator and said into it, "Leave now." He deliberately lured your people away. This sentence was transmitted to the micro-receiver hidden in Gu Qian's ear in less than a second. Her reaction was also very fast, and she gave the order almost at the same time. Quick! Get out of here! But before the driver could start the car shook. Gu Qian subconsciously fell to the ground. Almost at that moment, a sniper rifle bullet pierced through the carriage, the scorching bullet fiercely stabbing into her buttock. If she had been even a fraction of a second slower, the bullet wouldn't have hit her buttocks, but the back of her head. Gu Qian almost fainted from the severe pain. However, the devil training in Siberia played a role. Her willpower wasn't broken, and her body still maintained the most basic instinctive reaction. When the pain hit her, she suddenly rolled to the side. Ding! With a crisp sound, a string of sparks sputtered from the metal bottom of the car. In the same situation, if her reaction had been a little slower, the sniper's bullet would have killed her. This was a bulletproof car, but it still couldn't stop the sniper's shot. The enemy seemed to be able to see through the bulletproof steel plate and lock onto her position. What was more terrifying was that the sniper's marksmanship was extremely accurate. Almost all of the snipers fired a shot to destroy the bulletproof steel plate of the car, and then fired a second shot to snipe the target. Who else in the world could play with a sniper rifle to this extent? No one else, only Charlotte. Chapter 673. The driver of the field command vehicle finally started the vehicle and quickly fled in the direction of the Jiangnan district. In the process, a bullet from a sniper rifle hit the windshield of the vehicle. However, it failed to shatter the windshield and only left dozens of cracks. The driver of the field command vehicle survived. The sniper stopped shooting, but until now, no one knew where he was. Gu Qian struggled to get up, grabbed the communicator, and roared, "It's him! He's in the Jiangnan district!" Immediately, the CIB field agents, the Marine Corps Special Forces, and the armed helicopters in the sky rushed in the direction of Jiangnan. He must be in a high-rise building near the slums. Immediately block all the high-rise buildings within 3 kilometers. Gu Qian quickly issued a more precise order. Obviously, her bloody but didn't affect her brain. At the same time, the Toyota MPV parked outside the slums started and drove to the Jiangnan district. However, before the driver drove the car 100 meters away, a bullet flew from the front, penetrated the driver's window, and fiercely penetrated the driver's forehead. The out-of-control Toyota MPV deviated from the road and hit a tree on the side of the road. Bang! With a muffled sound, the Toyota MPV stopped. The people in the car fell forward under the influence of inertia, and it was chaos. In the chaos, Yamosa suddenly hugged one of his men and fell in the aisle of the car. Almost at that moment, a burst of bullets was fired from outside the car. In an instant, the car trembled, the glass shattered, and blood splashed. The narrow space inside the car limited people's movements, and the people in the car had little space to dodge. They didn't even see who ambushed them before bullets pierced their bodies one by one. However, this was just the beginning. More bullets hit the car like raindrops, and the Toyota MPV without bulletproof function was riddled with holes. The people in the car were also riddled with holes. Blood came out from their large and small wounds, and then flowed out from the gaps in the door and the bullet holes in the car. It was a shocking scene. Not only the Toyota MPV driving in the front, but the 2 Toyota SUVs and several motorcycles following behind were also not spared. Bullets flying from both sides of the road tore apart the vehicles and people of the FA organization like a storm. The ambush only lasted for half a minute, from start to finish. The people of the FA organization didn't even fire a single bullet back. 200 meters away, on the roof of a building, 6 gunmen put away their guns. All 6 of them were members of the Zodiac squad. It was Amanda who shot the driver of the Toyota MPV, while Alessio, Bagu, Erdemo, Marcus, and Yelena strafed the targets in the vehicles with Gale assault rifles and killed the FA organization members in the vehicles. 5 Gale assault rifles with a range of 2,000 meters had almost zero recoil. The powerful firepower they provided made this ambush seem extremely easy. Wow! Marcus stroked the Gale assault rifle between his fingers with a smile on his face, unable to put it down. I have used almost all types of assault rifles in the world, but there has never been an assault rifle as powerful and useful as the Gale assault rifle. Amanda said, "You should try the XL 2500 sniper rifle designed by the boss. I swear, there's no sniper rifle in the world that's more powerful and useful than it." "Let's stop talking about guns. We should retreat," Yelena said. "It's almost time for the boss to call it a day." "I don't know if that bitch Yamosa was killed," Amanda said. "I don't think he'll survive." Erdemuta said, "Our 6 guns have shot the cars full of holes. Yamasa won't be able to escape." "It would be good if we could go and see," Amanda said. "We can't go. The Korean police are coming." "Let's go," Yelena said. As soon as her voice fell, there was a harsh siren in the distance. At the same time, Pu Taeyong's voice came from the communicator. "The boss and I are already on our way to the retreat point. You guys hurry up. We have to leave." The 6 members of the Zodiac team looked at each other and smiled. They quickly retreated from the rooftop. A police car stopped on the side of the road. 2 policemen got out of the car and cautiously approached the FA organization's car with guns in hand. A policeman held a walkie-talkie and reported the situation to the headquarters. "There's a gunfight here. Unidentified people have been killed. My God, a lot of people." A policeman opened the door of the Toyota MPV, and a body fell out. It was a white man, very strong. He weighed at least 200 pounds, but there were also no less than 20 bullet holes in his body. He was already dead. "There's another one alive." The policeman who opened the door was surprised. At this time, a black man lying in the aisle of the car suddenly turned over and fell next to the car door. The policeman who opened the door pointed his gun at the black man, only to find that he was not alive at all. There was a blood hole the size of a wine glass in his head. But at this moment, a strangely shaped pistol suddenly appeared in front of him. There was also a woman lying in the aisle, covered in blood. She seemed to have just crawled out of the blood pool in hell. Boom! Before the policeman who opened the door could finish speaking, his head disappeared. The rest of the body flew backward and then fell heavily on the side of the road. The policeman who was reporting the situation to the headquarters hurriedly raised his gun and was ready to shoot, but he was no match for the woman. As soon as he raised his arm, the woman's hand had already waved. At that moment, a military knife flew to his heart and then stabbed into it. Puff! The last policeman spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground on his back. The woman put away her strangely shaped pistol and said, Charlotte, F*CKU. She was Yamosa. She formulated the earthworm plan. With Xia Changhe as the target, she used the secret documents of the FA organization to lure Charlotte out and then arrested him. Charlotte came out, but she didn't catch him, and all of her people were dead. Even more, if she hadn't reacted fast enough and hugged one of her men in time, using the body of the poor guy to block the Gale assault rifle, she would have gone to hell to report at this moment. What plan could be more of a failure than the earthworm plan? Thinking of the thrill and grievance just now, Yamosa wanted to *CK Xia Changha in front of Charlotte. Yamosa got into the police car, quickly turned the car around and fled the scene. At the same time, the CIB Field Command vehicle stopped on the side of the road. A transport helicopter descended from the sky, and several field doctors from the Longshan military base jumped off the helicopter. They carried a stretcher and ran to the Field Command vehicle with first aid tools. The driver opened the door, and Gu Qian stumbled and fell out of the car. Fortunately, the driver was in front of her and caught her. Her face was pale, and her sexy buttocks had turned into a bloody buttock. "There won't be a next time, there won't be a next time." Gu Qian kept repeating this sentence. She was very weak, but her eyes were cold and scary. This was the CIB's harpoon plan. It had the same result as the FA organization's earthworm plan, which was a fiasco. But what made Yamosa and Gu Qian most angry and unacceptable was that from beginning to end, they were led by the nose by Charlotte, and until the end, they didn't see Charlotte show up. Charlotte finally showed up, but on a rural road far away from Seoul. Pu Taiyong said while driving, "Boss, did you kill Gu Qian?" Charlotte didn't speak. In his mind, he kept recalling the scene of killing Gu Qian. At that time, his position was 3,000 meters away from Gu Qian, and he used the XL 2500 sniper rifle that he had personally modified, which had a range of 3,400 meters. He saw Gu Qian's buttocks get shot with his own eyes, but only that shot hit Gu Qian, and she dodged the subsequent shots. If he didn't have to be so far away, his chances of killing Gu Qian would have increased by more than 50%. However, if he was too close, he wouldn't have time to retreat after shooting. Once he was surrounded, the other side not only had the CIB field agents, but there were also more than 200 special forces from the Longshan base. That would put him in an extremely dangerous situation. "Boss." Charlotte finally recovered. "Half and half. I'm not sure if I killed her, but I hit her. If the important blood vessels and coccyx were injured, she might have died." "Coccyx? Did you hit her buttocks?" I was going to shoot her in the head, but she dodged it." Charlotte frowned. "The CIB Field Command vehicle is not an ordinary vehicle. I used armor-piercing bullets, but it still required 2 bullets to penetrate the body of the vehicle. When my first bullet hit the body of the vehicle, Gu Qian was already alerted." Pu Taiyong's mouth was still wide open with a horrified look on his face. He was stunned for a long time before he managed to say, "Boss, that's a moving bulletproof car. How could you hit the same spot with 2 bullets? Also, you hit Gu Qian's buttocks." At a distance of 3,000 meters, it was difficult to even hit a stationary target, let alone a moving vehicle. Because this was no longer as simple as shooting. There were many factors to consider, such as wind direction and speed, air resistance, the speed and energy consumption of the bullet, and so on. There were so many factors to consider and even calculate. How did he do it? And he did it so well. Of course, this was because of Charlotte's brain. This calculation was almost like elementary school math problems to his brain, and it was not difficult at all. However, Charlotte would not explain to Pu Taiyong. He just smiled. "Drive, don't let Amanda and the others wait too long." Pu Taiyong shrugged and said to himself, "I heard that you are the best sniper in the world. I didn't believe it at that time, but now, I think you are the king of the sniper world, and no one can surpass you." Charlotte just listened and did not interrupt. The Hyundai MPV drove in the direction of the sea. At this time, there were still 10 hours before the 2-day deadline that Charlotte requested to retreat. There was enough time to retreat. Chapter 674. What happened in South Korea was earth-shattering, but in the end it was the virtual terrorists who bore the responsibility. The South Korean government claimed that this was a counter-terrorism exercise involving the U.S. military stationed in South Korea, the South Korean military, and special forces. Charlotte was not surprised by this result at all. It was impossible for the CIB to reveal his identity and secrets to the public. This was not in the interest of the United States. A day later, Charlotte appeared at the Thunder Horse military factory, and at this time, Ryu Young-nam was still on his way back to Kyoto. "How's the Sichuan branch?" In the office building, Ling Hao looked at Xia Lei, who had just returned, and asked casually. Charlotte smiled. "Pretty much. I'm so busy. I only took care of a few important things, and they know how to do the rest. The cooperation with the Germans is the big deal, so I flew back. The Germans haven't come yet, right? They've already arrived in Kyoto, and are currently living in the embassy. I think they'll be here in a while. Don't worry, they're more anxious than us," Ling Hao said. While they were talking, a Volkswagen Beetle appeared at the gate. The soldiers at the gate let it go, and the security guards of the Thunder Horse military factory did not stop the car. It was for no other reason than the person driving the Volkswagen Beetle was Fan Fan. Not only did she have access to the Thunder Horse military factory, but she was also a frequent customer here. Charlotte thought to himself, I just dealt with Jian in South Korea, and she's already here. Could it be that she already knows something? But even if she knows something, she should come earlier. Sylvia probably hasn't finished what I asked her to do yet. Fan Fan parked the car and walked over to the office building. Ling Hao looked at Fan Fan and frowned slightly. What is she doing here? Charlotte smiled bitterly. I don't know, but I think it's probably related to the Germans. Maybe she's here to help. Ling Hao obviously did not like to hear such words, but he also knew the purpose of Fan Fan's visit to the Thunder Horse military factory at this time, but he did not think that Fan Fan was here to help. Mr. Ling, you're here too. Fan Fan walked over leisurely. With her long legs and slender waist, her light gait made her look like a fashion model on the runway. A smile appeared on Ling Hao's face. Fan Fan, what are you doing here? Fan Fan said, I'm not here to steal your credit. I'm here to find Mr. Xia. Charlotte asked in surprise, Miss Fan Fan, is there something you need from me? Of course. Fan Fan said, it's about the X-Secret Gold project. Is it convenient? Let's find somewhere to talk. Charlotte was about to say yes, but Ling Hao spoke first. Fan Fan, what do you mean? The Germans are coming soon, and you're looking for Charlotte at this time? Aren't you trying to mess things up? What's so important that we can't talk about it tomorrow? Fan Fan frowned. Mr. Ling, don't I know that the cooperation with the Germans is very important? However, the X-Secret Gold project is more important than the cooperation with the Germans. I've made a very important discovery. I have to talk to Charlotte. Is there a problem? She was a member of the research team of the X-Secret Gold project. If she wanted to talk to Charlotte about the X-Secret Gold project, she could do so at any time. Ling Hao could not stop her even if he wanted to. Charlotte coughed dryly. Then let's go to my office and talk. Miss Fan Fan, please. Fan Fan followed Charlotte into the office building. Ling Hao looked at the backs of Fan Fan and Charlotte, and his eyes were cold. Whether it was Charlotte or Fan Fan, they were no longer his friends. When I get the position of director, you two just wait and see. At that time, I want to see which one of you can still laugh, Ling Hao said secretly in his heart. At this time, Song Baiching walked over and lowered his voice. Mr. Z, yesterday, South Korea and the U.S. military in South Korea conducted a counter-terrorism exercise, but Ling Hao interrupted Song Baiching. Do you think I still care about the counter-terrorism exercise in South Korea and the U.S. military at this time? No, I heard some news that it was not a counter-terrorism exercise. There was a real gunfight, Song Baiching said. Ling Hao frowned. Even if it was a real terrorist attack, so what? It happened in South Korea, not here. Even if it happened, it's a matter of 101 innings, not our business. You go call and urge them. Aren't the Germans very strict and efficient? Why aren't they here yet? Song Baiching no longer mentioned the terrorist attack in South Korea. He said, I'll contact the German embassy right now and urge them. Song Baiching left and Ling Hao looked up at the top floor of the Thunder Horse Army's office building. He wanted to go to Charlotte's office and listen to what the two were talking about, but when he saw the surveillance camera hanging at the door, he gave up the idea. Whether it was Charlotte or Fan Fan, they were not ordinary people. Eavesdropping on their secret conversation? He was afraid that he would be discovered before he got close. At this time, he did not want to complicate matters. Charlotte and Fan Fan appeared on the top floor. Charlotte poked his head out from the guardrail and looked at Ling Hao below. He smiled and said, Brother Ling, wait a minute. I'll be down soon. I won't delay anything. Ling Hao just nodded and said nothing. He simply walked to the gate. Instead of waiting here, it was better to wait at the gate to welcome the arrival of the German delegation. He wanted the Germans to know that he was the person in charge of this cooperation, not Fan Fan or Charlotte. Entering the door, Fan Fan suddenly put her arms around Charlotte's waist. Charlotte was shocked by her action. What do you want to do? Now is not the time to mess around. The corners of Fan Fan's mouth curled up. Can't I hug you for a while? Charlotte smiled bitterly. After today, you can hug me however you want, okay? My dear lady, if Ling Hao and Song Baiching find out, everything we have done will be in vain. Fan Fan did not let go of Charlotte's waist. She was not at ease on Charlotte's body. She used the softest part of her body to rub against Charlotte's body. Her voice was also soft and seductive. I found out that I have been poisoned by you. I haven't seen you for a few days, but I miss you when I eat, I miss you when I take a shower, and I even miss you when I go to the toilet. Charlotte, last night I even dreamed of you. I dreamed that you pressed me against the laboratory floor and did those naughty things. The floor was very hard and cold. I said no, but you insisted on doing it. You didn't feel sorry for me at all. You were so fierce, and in the end, my skin was scratched. Fan Fan looked delicate and pitiful. Charlotte was speechless. Do you blame me for every dream you have? Of course it's your fault. Although it was a dream, my skin was really scratched there. Charlotte's head was spinning. Fan Fan suddenly turned around and lifted her short skirt. Then, without hesitation, she pulled down her black underwear. Her body, which looked like a pile of snow, was exposed, and she looked shy. Charlotte suddenly froze. There was indeed a broken skin on her snow-covered area. It was red, and he couldn't help but feel sorry for her. But the problem was that in the next second, his gaze wandered uncontrollably to somewhere else. The fabric of his pants also quickly shortened and shrunk, and there was a very obvious puff. What kind of man could withstand such teasing and seduction? Unless it was a eunuch in the palace. Fan Fan didn't even bother to tidy up her black underwear. She reached out and grabbed Charlotte's hand. She pulled him towards the lounge and said shyly, "Help me apply some medicine. Otherwise, it will get infected." Charlotte's lower abdomen was already smoldering with anger, but he still maintained a trace of rationality. "I say, what are you here for? If you're here to ask about Korea, I can tell you now. It's done. Now, you just need to wait for the last part to be completed. Then, you can rest easy and become the director of the ZN Bureau." A sweet smile instantly appeared on Fanfan's face, but she didn't let go of Charlotte's hand. Just as Charlotte was speaking, she had already pushed open the lounge door and dragged Charlotte inside. "Don't ruin your own plans," Charlotte reminded her again. His rationality was actually rapidly weakening. Fan Fan finally let go of his hand. "I'm here to tell you good news. I've already made an antidote. I think I'll succeed this time, so I couldn't wait to come and try it with you." Charlotte's gaze suddenly shifted to her handbag. His left eye instantly penetrated the leather handbag and saw a sealed glass test tube inside. The liquid in the glass test tube was very close to the correct antidote. He suddenly understood the purpose of Fanfan's visit. She not only wanted to show her face in front of the German delegation, but she also wanted to use her antidote before the German delegation arrived. When the German delegation arrived, he would definitely be busy for a while, but she didn't want to wait any longer. Fanfan opened her handbag and took out the sealed glass test tube. She handed it to Charlotte and said in a lazy cat-like voice, "Help me apply some medicine." She obviously didn't want to apply medicine for the broken skin, but her antidote. Charlotte held her antidote and didn't know what to do. Fanfan turned around and bent down. A large pile of snow was exposed in front of Charlotte again. This time, it wasn't just the snow, but also the mysterious scenery hidden under the snow. "She's really anxious." Charlotte smiled bitterly in his heart. His gaze also moved to the safe in the lounge, where there was an antidote. He originally wanted to bring the antidote with him, but he didn't need it in Korea, so he didn't bring it with him. He was a little lazy at that time, but now it had become a problem. How could he take out the antidote from the safe without attracting Fanfan's attention? "Hurry up," Fanfan urged. "Don't worry, I asked Su Xiao to wait on the way. She will contact me as soon as the German delegation arrives. You don't have to worry about making mistakes. Think about our Xia Bufan, think about our Xia Siphon, don't you want to?" Charlotte bit the bullet and said, "Are you that anxious to get pregnant with our child?" Fanfan's eyes shone with excitement. "I want to be pregnant with your child. Our child will be the smartest child in the world, a miracle. You don't have to doubt my determination. I'll tell you this, if I have to choose between conquering the X-Secret Gold Project and having your child, I will choose the latter." A woman was only complete when she became a mother, not to mention this child was the child of Charlotte, who had an IQ of 998. Any woman would find it hard to resist the temptation of a miracle baby, especially someone like her who was in the field of bioengineering. Charlotte thought of an excuse to open the safe. "If you're shy, then I'll do it myself." Fanfan couldn't wait any longer. She turned around and took the antidote from Charlotte's hand. At this moment, a woman's voice came from outside the lounge. "Chairman Xia, your father is looking for you." This was the female secretary, Qin Xiyue's voice. Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. "Okay, I'll be right there." Fanfan stomped her feet in frustration and pulled the black underwear up. She looked like a cat whose fish had been snatched away. Chapter 675. Charlotte and Fanfan came out of the lounge. Both of them were well dressed and looked serious. But after all, he felt a little guilty. Charlotte felt very awkward. "Mr. Xia, then you go ahead with your work. I'll go down first." The good thing was ruined. Fanfan didn't want to stay in this office. "Okay," Charlotte said. Fanfan left the office. When she left, she looked back at Charlotte. Her eyes were coquettish and full of hidden bitterness. It was indescribably seductive. After Fanfan left, Charlotte said with a smile, "Actually, it's not my dad who's looking for me, right?" Qin Kaiwa looked slightly nervous. "I don't know. Actually, Yelena asked me to come over and say that." Charlotte immediately understood. It wasn't that his father was looking for him, but Yelena specifically asked Qin Kaiwa to come over and help him out. Fanfan's identity was very special. Yelena didn't want to have contact with her. That would increase the risk of exposure. But Qin Kaiwa didn't have this problem. "Chairman Xia, I'm really sorry to disturb you and..." The more Qin Kaiwa spoke, the more nervous she became. Her jade-like face was also blushing. Charlotte was embarrassed in his heart, but he said with a serious face, "You didn't do anything wrong. Why are you apologizing? Yelena is very experienced. She handled it very well." Go do what you have to do. Qin Kaiwa didn't leave. Her face became redder and redder. Charlotte asked curiously, Is there anything else? That. Qin Kaiwa stammered, Chairman Xia, your zipper is open. Charlotte looked down and immediately blushed. His zipper was indeed unzipped, revealing the red underwear inside. What made him speechless was that he didn't even know when Fanfan unzipped him. When he thought of how he pretended to be serious and talked to Qin Kaiwa, he was extremely embarrassed. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. Qin Kaiwa suddenly had a wrong understanding. As a secretary to the boss, the most important thing was to figure out the boss's intentions. Charlotte stood still. Didn't he want her to help him zip up? This was her understanding. Qin Kaiwa hesitated for a moment before she bit the bullet and stretched out her hand. At this moment, Charlotte suddenly woke up. He hurriedly took a step back and pulled up his zipper. He awkwardly said, I'm sorry. I forgot to pull it up when I went to the washroom. That's all. You can go back to your work. Qin Kaiwa retracted her bony claws and said with a red face, Then I'll go down first. Charlotte smiled bitterly and turned to enter the lounge. He opened the safe and took out a small plastic bottle containing the anti-antidote and carried it with him. Although Fanfan's antidote was not completely correct, it was very close. If something happened to her after using the antidote and she became pregnant with his child, it would be a big joke. So, for safety's sake, he had to carry his antidote with him from now on. It didn't take long for the German personnel to arrive. This was a very large team. This team not only included senior technical personnel from Rheinmetall, but also some scientists from the German scientific community. The team was led by a German official named Connerbridge, and he was a member of the cabinet of the current German president. From his identity and the strength of these members, it was not difficult to see that the German side attached great importance to this transaction. For the German side, they made a mistake last time. This time, they would not allow any mistakes to happen. The German ambassador introduced Connerbridge to Charlotte, and then Connerbridge introduced the German personnel to Charlotte. In fact, there were a few familiar faces in this team that Charlotte knew. This was because there were several senior engineers from Rheinmetall among the German personnel. He had contact with these people in Germany. Ling Hao was very active throughout the process. He called the German personnel, arranged accommodation for the German personnel, asked if they had any other requirements, and so on. His activity also gave people a feeling that he was a noisy guest. Many things that should have been handled by Charlotte were handled by him for Charlotte. Fanfan was very low-key. She only showed her face in front of the German team and then left. Charlotte saw her off. The German team has arrived. When can I come over? In the parking lot, Fanfan asked Charlotte. Charlotte said, Don't worry. Go back and prepare your luggage. You can probably come and replace Ling Hao tomorrow. Are you so sure? Charlotte smiled. I helped you settle the matter in Korea. Can't I handle this small matter? Can you tell me what you plan to do? Fanfan looked a little curious. Charlotte just smiled. Go back and wait for my good news. Fanfan slightly raised the corner of her mouth. Her eyes seemed to want to bite Charlotte. Charlotte couldn't resist her eyes and turned to leave. Ling Hao arranged everything, but Charlotte couldn't stay idle. No matter how active Ling Hao was, the German personnel didn't take him seriously. The goal of the German personnel was Charlotte and Charlotte's technology from beginning to end. As soon as they settled down, Connerbridge came to Charlotte's office with several senior technicians. Mr. Connerbridge, don't you want to take a break? You came all the way from Germany and must be tired. You should take a good rest. Xia Lei smiled and spoke fluent German. Mr. Xia, we are not here to rest. Connerbridge said, We are here to have a technical exchange. Well, Charlotte said, Sit down. Sit down and talk. Kai Wei, go make a few cups of tea. Okay. Qin Kai Wei responded and quickly made a few cups of tea. Then, she stood behind Charlotte, holding a notebook and a pen, ready to record something. She had already entered the state of work, and Charlotte's other secretary, Yelena, couldn't even see a shadow. However, she didn't have any complaints about Yelena, because she got this job because Yelena said a few good words for her and persuaded Charlotte to keep her. So sometimes when Yelena asked her to do something, she was always willing to do it. "Mr. Xia, I'll make it short," Connerbridge said. "I think Mr. Xia knows our purpose. I want to hear your plan. You want a Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, that's no problem." Charlotte said, "When I was in Germany, I built a Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool for you, but I think it was probably your improper operation that damaged the core parts. I can provide you with the core parts, and then send an engineer to repair the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool for you. Wouldn't that solve the problem?" Two senior technicians from Rainmetal whispered to each other. Connerbridge's mouth showed a smile. "That's good, but we agreed that you have to provide us with another Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. You know, the price we paid is very high. The biggest benefit from this cooperation is not us, but you." Germany had originally obtained the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, as well as the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle, but the deal was ruined because of the destruction of the Americans. Now that the Germans had taken out submarine technology in exchange, the biggest benefit was, of course, China. Charlotte seemed very straightforward. "That's no problem. I will process the parts to assemble a Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, and then ship it to Germany. My engineers will assemble and debug it for you to make it work normally. Is that okay?" "Of course, no problem, but Mr. Xia, are you going to Germany?" "We would prefer you to handle this personally," Connerbridge said. Charlotte smiled. "I almost died in Germany last time. Do you think I will go to Germany again?" "Ahem." Connerbridge coughed and looked a little embarrassed. He changed the topic. "We have obtained access to all the workshops of the Thunder Horse Army Factory. Our people want to go to the workshop of the Thunder Horse Army Factory to have a look. Is that okay?" "Of course. I mean the core workshop of the second-generation Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, as well as the workshop of your new artillery, tanks, and defense system." Connerbridge looked at Charlotte and observed Charlotte's expression and reaction. Charlotte shrugged. "You have already said that you have obtained access. Of course, there is no problem on my side. You can go wherever you want to see. You can even take pictures and use pinhole cameras to record videos. There is no problem." "Mr. Xia, we are not spies," Connerbridge said with a smile, "but I thank you for your support. The things in the Thunder Horse Army Factory couldn't be stolen with a few photos and videos, so Charlotte didn't care what these Germans were secretly taking pictures of. Since he knew that the other party would secretly take photos, and they would do everything possible to secretly take photos, he might as well be generous and give them the right to take photos. He gave Connerbridge a favor, but of course, he had his own purpose. This purpose was related to whether Fanfan could replace Ling Hao and enter the Thunder Horse Army Factory. It was also related to whether Fanfan could replace Wu Kuei as the director of the ZN Bureau. Otherwise, why would he give these Germans a favor? Mr. Connerbridge, you are welcome. In short, I will try my best to meet your requirements. And I also hope you can give me your support," Charlotte said. Of course we support you," Connerbridge said with a smile. The first formal conversation between the two sides was very pleasant. At this time, Sylvia walked in. She was wearing a blue work uniform and holding a pure titanium part in her hand. That was the core part of the Thunder Dragon smart machine tool. As soon as she walked in, everyone in the room looked at her. Sylvia first greeted a few members of the German side, then said to Xia Lei, "Mr. Xia, I have processed the core components of the Thunder Dragon AI machine tool myself. Please check if there are any problems with its accuracy. Let me see, Charlotte said generously. Connor Bridge was excited, but his face didn't show it. Miss Sylvia, did you really process the core part of the Thunder Dragon Smart Machine tool? Yes, Sylvia said. Mr. Xia has been teaching me how to process this part during this period of time. As long as I master this technique, we won't need to trouble Mr. Xia to replace this part with our own Thunder Dragon AI machine tool. Connor Bridge and the German technicians couldn't help but smile. They originally thought that Charlotte would set up some obstacles, but they didn't expect Charlotte to be so cooperative. The reactions of Connor Bridge and the German technicians fell into Charlotte's eyes. Charlotte looked at the pure titanium part processed by Sylvia and whispered, "How is the thing I asked you to do?" "It's almost done." Sylvia whispered, "When do you start?" Charlotte said, "Tonight." After a pause, he raised his voice, "Not bad, there is progress. Miss Sylvia, you are worthy of being Germany's most powerful mechanic. If this goes on, it won't be long before you can process the core part of the Thunder Dragon Smart Machine tool." Sylvia lowered her voice. "After I finish it tonight, can I come find you?" Charlotte. Chapter 676. The Thunder Horse Army Factory held a grand banquet. The Thunder Horse Army Factory's artistic team also became active, singing and dancing to liven up the atmosphere. Qin Kaiwe also went on stage to perform a dance. She danced the peacock dance with ethnic characteristic. When she danced, her body was so soft as if she didn't have any bones. She could bend and fold at will, and her movements were light and graceful, similar to Yang Liping's style. Xia Lei continuously toasted the German side's members with wine and beauties. The only people he didn't toast were Ling Hao and Song Baiqing. However, this didn't affect Ling Hao and Song Baiqing. The two of them were also very active at the table and drank quite a bit with the German people. Xia Lei saw this and was happy in his heart. After the banquet ended, Ling Hao and Song Baiqing returned to their respective residences drunk. "Mr. Song, hello." When Song Baiqing was about to open the door, he heard a woman's voice. He turned around and saw Sylvia. She was wearing a tight white tank top without a bra, and her breasts could be vaguely seen. She was wearing a black miniskirt that barely covered her buttocks, and the lines of her thighs and buttocks formed a beautiful curve. She wore a pair of black stockings on her long legs, which were smooth and delicate and had a mysterious allure. Song Baiqing was stunned for a moment before he smiled. "Oh, it's Ms. Sylvia. What can I do for you?" Sylvia shook her head, indicating that she didn't understand. She then went over and handed the phone in front of Song Baiqing. Song Baiqing saw the German translation on the phone. "My bathroom is broken and there's no hot water. Can I borrow your bathroom? There's such a strange thing?" A smile appeared on Song Baiqing's face. "That's not a problem. Please come in." He didn't care if Sylvia understood him or not and immediately opened the door for her. Sylvia suddenly stumbled and fell to the ground the moment she entered. Song Baiqing hurriedly hugged her waist. Sylvia pretended to struggle and said in German, "Let me go." No, don't do this." Song Baiqing didn't understand German, and he hugged Sylvia even tighter under the influence of alcohol. For the past few days, Sylvia had been in contact with him intentionally or unintentionally. He was not a fool and could tell that Sylvia was interested in him. Now that Sylvia had delivered herself to his doorstep, how could he not eat the meat that was already in his mouth? Song Baiqing's heart was tickled by the warm and fragrant soft jade in his arms. The blonde foreign girl wanted to welcome him but also refused him. There was a warm fire in his lower abdomen, and his hands started to wander all over Sylvia's body. Sylvia struggled pretentiously, trying to push him away. But how could he bear to let go of this piece of meat that was delivered to his doorstep? He carried Sylvia and moved to the bedside. "No, you can't do this." I'm a German technician, you can't do this to me, Sylvia said in German. Song Baiching laughed and said, Baby, what are you talking about? Hiss. With a cracking sound, Sylvia's tight singlet suddenly split open, revealing a large area of her snow-white chest. So you like this style? Song Baiching was eager to try. Help! Help! Sylvia shouted, but her voice wasn't very loud. Song Baiching covered Sylvia's mouth. Don't scream so loudly, baby. You don't want to be discovered, right? Sylvia nodded and stopped barking. Song Baiching let go of Sylvia's mouth and looked at Sylvia with glowing eyes. Hiss! The short skirt on Sylvia's body also split open. The short skirt silently slid to the ground, revealing a purple lace inside. Stop tearing it, I'll do the rest. Song Baiching couldn't control himself anymore. He suddenly pushed Sylvia onto the bed and reached out to pull the purple lace. But at this moment, a muffled bang came from the door as it was kicked open. A person appeared at the open door. It was the Thunder Horse Military Factory's security section chief, Lu Xing. Song Baiching was startled, but he quickly calmed down. He turned back to look at Lu Xing and scolded, Bastard! What are you trying to do? Get out! Help! He wants to rape me! Sylvia said in German. Without saying a word, Lu Xing strode into the room and grabbed Song Baiching's collar, pulling him away from Sylvia. Song Baiching flew into a rage and slapped Lu Xing's face. With a crisp slap, Song Baiching's attack was so fast that Lu Xing couldn't dodge it. Lu Xing was stunned for a moment before he suddenly swung his fist at Song Baiching. Song Baiching took half a step back and raised his hand to block. After all, he was a field agent of the ZN Bureau, and his skills weren't any worse than those of 101 innings. Song Baiching wasn't afraid of Lu Xing at all. But just as the two men were about to fight, Sylvia, who was pushed onto the bed by Song Baiching, suddenly got up and ran out. She didn't want her short skirt anymore. She only had a purple lace and a ripped tank top on her body. As soon as she went out, she stood on the balcony and yelled, Help! Help! Molestation! Rape! Sylvia's voice tore through the darkness and traveled far. There were a lot of German personnel living in the office building, and they had just returned from the banquet and hadn't slept yet. Hearing Sylvia's call for help in German, the Germans all walked out of their rooms. Help! Help! Molestation! Rape! Sylvia yelled again. Connor Bridge, who was on the same floor, walked over and asked nervously, Miss Sylvia, what happened? Someone, sob. Sylvia cried as she said, Someone wants to rape me, sob. Who? Connor Bridge was furious. More Germans gathered around, and a few of them even clenched their fists. At this time, Song Baiching had also defeated Lu Xing and walked out. He didn't understand German, so he didn't know what was going on. However, seeing Sylvia crying, he immediately understood something, and his heart tensed up. It's him. It's him. Sylvia suddenly pointed at Song Baiching and said, He was the one who brought me into his room, then. He tore my clothes and pressed me on the bed, wanting to rape me. Boo-hoo, Song Baiching hurriedly said. Miss Sylvia, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything to you. You did it voluntarily. Connor Bridge understood Chinese. When he heard Song Baiching deny it and say that Sylvia did it voluntarily, he immediately became angry. He pointed at Song Baiching's nose and scolded, Bastard! She's the chief mechanic of Raymetal. Why don't you take a look at yourself? Would she like you? You shameless hooligan, where's your leader? This isn't over. You must give me an explanation. This time, Song Baiching understood and also realized that he had fallen into a trap. He suddenly rushed to Sylvia and said fiercely, You bitch, how dare you frame me? Lu Xing suddenly cut in and blocked Song Baiching. Damn it, how dare you insult Miss Sylvia in front of us? A young German engineer kicked Song Baiching's, but while Lu Xing and Song Baiching were entangled, Song Baiching reflexively waved his hand and punched the German engineer's face. How could the latter be Song Baiching's opponent? He staggered and fell to the ground. The scene suddenly became chaotic. Many people stopped downstairs to watch and whispered. "You don't want to call your leader, right? Well, we'll call the police." Connor Bridges' tone was very tough. "If the police can't solve it, then we'll file a diplomatic protest." Song Baiching wasn't afraid of calling the police. The ordinary police couldn't handle his matter. However, when he heard Connor Bridge say diplomatic protest, he felt guilty. Not to mention his matter with Sylvia, just the technology trade between Germany and China would be enough to make him suffer. "Mr. Connor Bridge, this is a misunderstanding." Song Baiching braced himself and explained, "I swear, I didn't molest Miss Sylvia. I'm not a fool. Why would I rape her?" "I have evidence," Sylvia said. "What evidence do you have?" Ling Hao's voice suddenly came from the other end of the corridor with anger. When Ling Hao appeared, the chaotic scene suddenly quieted down. Song Baiching let out a long sigh of relief. "Mr. Ling, you came at the right time." Ling Hao glared at Song Baiching, and Song Baiching immediately shut his mouth. "Mr. Ling, you came at the right time. Your man tried to rape Miss Sylvia. How do you think this matter should be solved?" Connor Bridge didn't understand Ling Hao, and he didn't plan to give Ling Hao face. Ling Hao said, "I won't be partial to my man. If he really did it, then it should be dealt with as it should be." Then, he looked at Sylvia and said coldly, "Miss Sylvia, you said that Song Baiching tried to rape you. Do you have evidence?" The German translator, who came with Ling Hao, translated Ling Hao's words. Sylvia pointed at her body and said with grievance, "Isn't this evidence? Isn't it proof that he did something?" The German translator translated Sylvia's words. Song Baiching said angrily, "You tore it yourself." "Shut up," Ling Hao said angrily. Song Baiching shut his mouth again. He was very clear that Ling Hao was actually protecting him at this time. "Miss Sylvia, this should be a misunderstanding." Ling Hao said, "You said that Song Baiching tore it, and Song Baiching said that you tore it. I have to investigate this matter, but I promise you that you will get compensation." "Oh my God, rape is a felony in the world. You want to use money to solve the problem?" Connor Bridge was dissatisfied. "I didn't say that. I said to investigate it clearly and then deal with it," Ling Hao said. He planned to deal with this matter coldly, turning it into a small matter. At that time, he would give Sylvia a considerable amount of compensation, and this matter would be forgotten. But at this time, Charlotte's voice came again. "What happened? What are you guys doing here?" Everyone's eyes moved over and gathered on Charlotte. Xia Lei, who appeared in front of everyone, was wearing a pair of bright red embroidered shorts, a white singlet, and a pair of foam slippers. He didn't look like the chairman of the Lima Group at all. He looked more like a street vendor. But even though he was dressed like a CD vendor, he had a very special aura about him that could easily control the scene. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.